So, hello everyone. It is me, Demetra K, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq. And if it's Sunday, it must mean that it is the Demetra K Show, where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even. And like to say, welcome, welcome, welcome to YouTube and Facebook, the other side of the conversation. You all are not just viewers, but you are participants. So we say thank you very much for all that you do in making this show what it is. Also like to say a big giant thank you to Marcus Guyton, who I also forgot to tell that we were going live today, but I'm sure he'll catch on for everything he does in making the show go further on Facebook. And so today we are going to be talking about legitimizing the Black family, if you will, or making children between Black couples legitimate. And so we're going to ask a lot of questions. It's actually a question that came to me from a viewer who shall remain anonymous, but we're going to get into that conversation and, of course, a whole host of other things while we are here for this next 2 hours, give or take. And so before we get started, Donovan, what say you?
All right. Hey, you guys, welcome. Do us a favor, please like, share, subscribe, and even become a member when you get a chance. Please forgive me. My memory is kind of going. I was involved in a constitutional activity, and I was viciously attacked by 2 grandmothers, maybe great grandmothers, all because I was being pressed at a political event. So please forgive me. I'm going to follow along as best I can. So, and by the way, Demetra, I was advised by an attorney that this is a civil right. I should pursue a civil rights case.
Awesome. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as we go. And so who do we have on here before we get started? We have Shiloh. How you doing? He says, hey, y'all. Don, what's going on with you? Sunlight, what's going on? Anais, the pioneer. Glad to see you here. Glad you're not working. And he said, good afternoon, beautiful king and queen. And Easy, how you doing? He says, what up, D and Donovan and everyone? And Pioneer says, good afternoon, chat family. So anyway, you guys know there's a whole lot going on. So, of course, we're going to discuss it all. But first, I want to address a viewer's question to me. And they asked if I would address it. And so I want to do that. And so we're just going to ask a bunch of questions. We're not making any assertions about one thing or other. We're just asking questions so we can see if we can come up with a good answer between all of us. And Tawana, how are you? And Shiloh says, I love the friendship between you and Donovan. So healthy, admirable. And the like, I hope you have a friendship. I hope to have a friendship like this one day. Absolutely. And I hope the same thing for you. And Anita, what is going on? I thank you, Anais, for the comment. I really appreciate that. All right. So it goes like this. So it says, why are legitimate children not a priority in the Black community? You mentioned something a while back about Nas saying at least he married his baby mama. This will probably trigger some people, but I think it needs to be discussed. I work with a lot of rednecks in, and I won't say the city or the state rather, and I always took notice of their behavior. Young guys married I think they met right out of high school. And I think they met one young white guys married right out of high school. Most time it was because they get someone pregnant. So they take the attitude of I made my best, so I'm going to take my responsibility and lie in it. I assume because I have a legitimate family is more important than their own personal desires. Now, on the flip side, Black males, not all, but a lot of them can have the same situation and marriage. Example, making their offspring legitimate never crosses their mind. Also, other cultures that prioritize making their children legitimate, not just whites, by the way. So I wonder why so many from our culture don't. Just my random thought. So Donovan, I'll let you go ahead before we get into that discussion. I hope it makes sense. So basically the question is, why don't we, and together as Black men and women, make our children being legitimate a priority, if that helps explain it a little bit more. So Donovan, what say you?
Well, this is a topic that you're seeing on a lot of platforms today as you browse through YouTube. A young lady asked me, she goes, Donovan, why do you think it is that there are so many YouTube videos correcting, unfortunately, Black women in today's society, right? And I think it's because of this. the narrative that black men ain't shit and black men can't say nothing and just men in general has been going on for what, 30, 40 years. And Dimitri did a video on this a while back, and it goes back to those mothers back in the 1980s. Oh, I don't need a father. I don't need this and I don't need that. Look at where it's gotten us today. There is benefits to being married. And a lot of women now are waking up because nobody had told them before that there's benefits to this. A lot of them are hitting the wall. You got all the success in the world. You have all the titles in the world. I'm Dr. So-and-so, but you got all this goddamn student debt. But it's catching up with people, and now a lot of people's eyes are awakening that truth and that untruth and lie about we don't need each other is not true. The bitter baby mama stuff, that was cute. Beyonce was that single ladies, while she was married. All of these women putting that stuff out while they were married, and look at the benefits that they're getting for the simple fact of what they're getting in marriage. If the marriage doesn't work out, the kids get this, the courts say this, the courts say that, and whatever. It's all straightened out. And again, there's a lot of benefits. How many of these guys, you got these street guys that are out there that some women are dating when you're young, these bad boys, but they have sons with these men. The guy gets shot, the kid has nothing, and the kid is damn near in poverty, damn to poverty. When you could have put some insurance on him, you could have done something. So a lot of these modern women now are starting to wake up and realize that what their mom or somebody told them, it's not true.
Okay, so I mean, thank you for that. And I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I heard whole lot of blaming black women. I'm just telling you what I heard.
Wait. But I'm not necessarily blaming black women. I'm saying that is the trope.
Got it. But I'm telling you what I heard. I heard a whole lot of blaming black women. I'm not saying you wrong or you right. I'm just telling you what I heard. I heard you blaming all of this, mostly on black women. So I should say there's a lot of statistical data out there in regards to, black people being married and not being married and this, that, and the other. But I will say that in 1965, 25% of black couples they had children out of wedlock, if you will. So they weren't married. This is the data that I saw. And it says in 2015, about 73% of children in the black community were born out of wedlock. Now, how true that is, I don't know, because I know data can kind of be, fixed one way or the other. But clearly there has been an uptick in out of wedlock marriages, or children born out of wedlock, I should say. But I should also say, when I was doing a little bit of research, that it said the numbers went up for other races as well. So it wasn't really, I'm pixelating here because it's my shea butter, y'all. But it said that other races as well saw children being born out of wedlock more than back in the past as well. And so I want to see what you guys say, what your opinions on this. And I'm not trying to have a blame fest like, oh, it's the black woman's fault, or it's the black man's fault. But, let's see what we have, right? And then, of course, we can go on to other topics, but let's make it do what it do. So let's see here. Let's see. And Pioneer says, Donovan, at least you aren't as bad as you were a few months ago when you came on high as hell. Oh, my God. Laugh out loud, man. You were something else that day. You had, what was it? You went to the dentist or something like that? And
I don't even remember. I mean, that's how good the drugs were.
And Aisha says, I'm a legitimate child. And I should say also that I'm a legitimate child as well. Of course, I was born in 1971, where,
I also.
Yeah, 1971, where I guess, was more popular for people to be married, right? And News from the Edgemont said that Pioneer, I don't even remember being on that. Those drugs were something else, but I was dedicated. Laugh out loud. Pioneer says, Brother Don, man, you were tripping so bad on that day. I think Dimitri had to get rid of the video. Laugh out loud. Now I was just a fable or legend that Donovan came on high and tripping. And Aisha says, I was born 9 months and 3 days after my parents' marriage. Yeah, but that counts, right? Monet, how you doing? The Pioneer says, I think both black men and women are at fault, especially in the Black American man and woman, because much of our family traditions have been destroyed. That is really something to think about. Reggie, how you doing? It says greetings, global Black family. And Shiloh, you say, in response to Donovan, I reiterate that the Matrix trilogy, 4 parts, actually is yet another allegory for the Black man and woman. In other words, we need each other. Can you bring me a favorite towel too? And the Pioneer says, that's one of the reasons I focus so much on African women. Okay, too many Afro-American women are in love with bad boys. Now, is that really true?
Yes, because in nature, the female in any species always mates with the alpha male, always. And unfortunately, in our species, we've got these simp males that dress and perceive to be alpha males, and they're not. So that's true.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's see here. Avenge the ancestors. How you doing? It says, hello, Queen Demetra, Brother Don, and Room Black First. Yes, indeed. And the Pioneer says 25% in 1960. That's a huge number for back then. Yeah, I mean, huge back then, but looking back from it being in 2022, I mean, that's a relatively small number, because to say that, I think, you know, let's make it room for everybody didn't want to get married that had a child, right? And I think also back then, most people, like Pioneer, like you said, they were more glued to tradition. So you couldn't get somebody's daughter pregnant and not make her legitimate, right? Like you couldn't get her pregnant and not have her daddy show up at your door with a shotgun and say, yeah, so you did this to my daughter and I need y'all to be jumping over a broom soon, right? So we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. I think, what do you guys tell me? Tell me.
And you also got to remember, you had World War II and the Korean War. So a lot of daddies did not come home, or a situation like that. So that kind of added to the numbers, because that number really didn't take off until after World War II. A lot of fathers did not come back. And before they left, they had left with some babies, you know, along the way.
All right. And so the Pioneer says, let's keep it real. Most people in America today, and especially among Afro-Americans and Latinos, have children by accident. They aren't planned, and you can tell by how the children are raised. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that a lot of us, I'm not saying me, I know I was planned. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm sure I was. I was born within a marriage, but I think that's true for a lot of people. I don't know how planned a lot of pregnancies were, right? And Amanda, my sister, she says, Daddy says she changed her hair. So my father is watching with my sister. My sister's visiting my father in California. So now I got to be on my best behavior.
What? Afros in California? I'm going to
Lancaster. She says, I said we were watching her live. Well, hello, Daddy. And Kubler, how you doing? Says, isn't this the case of which came first, the chicken or the egg? Yeah, I guess you can argue that. And Amanda says, after watching many videos this morning of you and Farrakhan, I feel so honored to be mentioned in the same realm, honestly. And Black Man, how you doing? Say, hello, everybody. All praise to the Most High. Black First, always struggling and striving against the most satanic, corrupt society on the planet. And that makes the rest of us too, right? And NIE says, marriage is honorable before Elohim. Yes, indeed. I mean, God, you know, would ask that you form a union that is acceptable by him, right? But then again, that's arguable. Maybe some people don't go to church. Maybe some people don't believe in God. I don't know. I'm just throwing those questions out there, right? And Sunlight says, men are the gatekeepers of marriage. So back to the question that Donovan did not answer. Why is marriage not a priority if someone is pregnant?
Wrong. Okay. Well, not wrong. That's a good opinion, Sunlight. When men are the gatekeepers of relationships. Okay. We could ask you to marry us, but again, yeah, we can't make y'all marry us. We can ask you. Men are the gatekeepers of relationships. Women are the gatekeepers to sex. If there was no sex, there would be no need for marriage necessarily in that situation. So I know you ladies don't like to hear all of this stuff, but a lot of this falls on your shoulders.
I'm gonna just keep reading. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and have at that. And H. McDaniels, how you doing? It says, hello, beautiful people. Good day, and a good day it is. The Pioneer says, sis, yes, it's true. Too many Afro-American women are attracted to bad boys, quote unquote, or the toughest and roughest and most violent of Black males. Problem is, those brothers often get killed or go to prison. So I want to quantify what you said. You said too many Afro-American women. So can we get a number on too many? Because I always say this to y'all, right? Now, I guess we have to define what a bad boy is, But I personally don't know a lot of women who are just like, I just want them the roughest and the toughest ever. I want them to be no good. I want them to be out here running the streets and doing all these bad things. I personally don't know any women that desire that. So can you give me a number or close to it? And Anita says, my children are legitimized and my kids were born in 2009 and 2010.
Right. Real quick. Remember my little cousins? Remember we were in the backyard and we were asking them, what's going on and why they wouldn't like this guy versus that guy. What did they both say? And these were twins.
Yeah, they didn't want a man working at McDonald's or even a guy their age, which would have been 13. I was like, oh, somebody's not teaching them, good things at home. And let's see here. Pioneer says, I tried to be a typical bad boy or thug when I was younger, but wised up real quick. I didn't see the purpose of attracting so many females with it, only to end up in jail or dead. Wow. Hey, Brother Samuel, how you doing? It says, got me married, laugh out loud. So you said that you were a product of a shotgun wedding? And Anita says, I'm divorced now, but in this dating scene now, you say you want to be married. The men damn near want to vomit. Wow. Break out in hives and take off running, laugh out loud. So here's a woman's point of view saying, in opposition to what you're saying, Donovan, that it's the men who are kind of queasy when it comes to marriage.
Well, again, 50% of the problem is males, 50% of the problem is women. No 50% is bigger than the other. It takes two to tango. It takes two to make a relationship work out. That's my answer.
All right. And Brother Samuel says, he said it was planned though. Okay. So y'all planned it after the shotgun showed up at the door. Dragon Lily, how you doing? He says, I grew up in a religious family. I'm so happy that all my children are born inside the union. I am very grateful. I was taught this from my parents. Yes. And so that's another thing too. People, I don't know how old you are, Dragon Lily. And I'm not saying that there's not parents that are younger that aren't practicing those things, but me being 50, I watched my parents, I was born into a marriage union, if you will. And so I learned those concepts from my parents. And so to your point, it was taught, but I don't know if that's really getting lost in translation nowadays. Because a lot of times I've heard more people say nowadays, well, marriage is not really important. It's just a piece of paper. But as I always tell y'all, having conversations with my mom, who graduated high school in 1967, she said for her and her friends, the goal was to get married. That was an honorable thing, to get married right out of high school, right? They were going to go off and get married to a great guy. They're going to raise a family and take care of the house. But you don't really hear those conversations much from, I guess, the younger generation of women. So,
yeah, it's kind of funny because, I'm a product of a marriage. I was born in wedlock. But unfortunately, both of my children are not born in wedlock, and not at any fault of my own. I married modern women that really shun getting married. They had no reason not to marry me except for this concept of, I don't want to be married. I could do it on my own. But that's my experience.
Got it. And let's see, Honeydew, how you doing? It says, blessings, everyone. And Donnie says, from the mid 70s through the early 80s, the U.S. government destroyed the Black family as well as Planned Parenthood's program and Catholic influenced religion, indoctrination. These all had a part. So you are absolutely right. The government did play a large part in that. But I think we also need to throw in the civil rights movement, right? Because we know when before civil rights movement, and I call it the false idea of civil rights because, as Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, how are you going to get civil rights when you haven't even been thought of as a human? You need human rights first, right? But so we ran after this whole civil rights thing. And before we got these civil rights, our community was more intact. Yeah, there was racism, but we had each other. We stuck together and stuff like that. But once we got the right to go sit next door, sit next to white people, live next door to white people, then not only did we leave our neighborhoods, we began to leave our men and women too, and to pursue out in an open another man or a woman. So you're absolutely right about that. And Kiki, you say hello, 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 beautiful people. And same to you. And Brother Todd, you said I asked, and hello if I didn't already. He says I asked my father once, was I adopted as a child? His answer was, why would we choose you? And then he and my mother began to laugh as though to say we would have adopted someone who looked better and would listen to shaking my damn head. So is that supposed to be a joke? or, or what? Because I don't know whether to laugh or cry with you. And the pioneer says, since I wasn't a bad boy, though, I could act like one when I wanted to, like Denzel Washington. I decided to just focus on the type of women who didn't like the bad boys. It wasn't hard. There you go. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny because remember I should tell you, Demetria, when I was treating women really bad, kind of like a bad boy, and just treating them like shit, they loved me. They loved me. But the minute I started being responsible and respectful, oh, he's a simp. Oh, he's weak. Oh, he's this. It's just something that is just programmed, especially when women are younger and young men are younger. You just think you have all this time, and that's one thing we don't, especially women. We women, nature puts a time limit on your birthing methods and all that other stuff. So we think we have all the time in the world. We don't. But it was just weird that I treat women like crap, and they love the shit out of me.
Okay, and I'm going to throw this out there. Would it be wrong if I said maybe, and this is for men and women, you need to make better choices? Because as I said, I don't know women who are like, you know what? I don't want a good man. I want me a bad boy. I don't know any women like that. Now, let me clarify it, okay? I do know some women who's like, I take a little bit of a rough neck, but they're not saying they want to be out there knocking people over the heads and all that other stuff. You know, I take just a little bit of it. But for the most part, I want a decent guy.
Okay, explain. How did you go to the Air Force base and end up having a Marine Corps relationship?
I wasn't at the base. First of all, I was at Club Metro. I was at Club Metro when I met my daughter's father.
You went with a killer.
I liked his dance moves, and in all fairness, I was 19. You know, that was the kind of stuff I was supposed to be like when I'm 19. He was a good dancer, and the rest is history. But I got a great, beautiful daughter out of all of that. So anyway, Moni, how you doing? It says, hey, Demetria, how are you? And gorgeous Donovan getting ready to head back home. I'm glad to see you, gorgeous people. Much Detroit love to you. We'll drive safely. And Anais says, sex is marriage, but that's a whole nother lesson. And Sunlight says, no, if women are the gatekeepers of sex, by your logic, men are the gatekeepers of marriage. Now answer the question, please, Donovan.
How are men the gatekeepers? I mean, that's really an answer you can't answer, because how are the men the gatekeepers of marriage if we're the ones that we can't make you guys marry us if you don't want to? We can't do that. So how are we the gatekeepers? So wait. To be a gatekeeper means you want entrance, right? So that means you got to have a key, you got to have some money or some kind of way to enter, right? So I want to go into a marriage with you. So I'm going to propose marriage. So for us to enter into a union, you have to accept my proposal. So women are the gatekeepers of marriage.
So basically, Donovan, is it your position that men are asking women to marry them, but the women are just like, no, I don't want to be married?
I don't know that if that is actually the case, but unfortunately, you have a lot of women that do not realize I'm hitting the wall now. I'm 30 and I should have got married when I was younger, like a lot of the other groups are doing. Girls that are going to college right now and other groups, they're getting married when they're in their 20s and 30s, either coming out of college or while they're in college, while our women aren't doing that. And that's statistically proven. Not all of our women, but a good majority of them are shunning marriage till later on in life. They want to be career first, this first and that.
Describe later on in life.
Like when they're in their 30s or their career is on the way or whatever. But what they're finding out is men don't give a damn about your career. We don't give a damn about your money. You know, we don't give a damn about not real men. We don't care about that.
What would you say if I told you, statistically speaking, that 70% of Black women who are college educated get married before they're 40?
That's fine. But what is the geriatric age for a pregnancy?
We ain't talking about having kids. We talking about getting married.
Well, that's fine. Before you're 40, that's great. But the other groups, I guarantee you, have the similar number when they're in their 20s. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, I'm gonna keep reading. One who cares says, good evening, Demetria, Donovan, and chat. Good evening to you as well. And the agitator, how you doing? It says, feminist movement. One person in particular comes to mind, Gloria Steinem, made it her business to push narrative, especially in Black community. Black men were being incarcerated at high rates due to systemic racism. So yeah, the feminist movement that came later in the 1960s, 70s, Yeah, that had a lot to do with it. Some of our women ran off to go help white women in the cause of sticking it to their man, but they did not get the memo that the white women went home after 5 o'clock, to make sure that their man had a casserole on the table. And some of our women didn't get that message, and we thought, well, we should just be done with our men altogether. So yeah, the feminist movement had a lot to do with it, and I don't care what you think is Black women. If you think the feminist movement is for you, then you are sadly mistaken, because why are they so quiet on a lot of issues that deal with Black women? But I digress. So anyway, but you're absolutely right. And Amanda says, man, I know a guy that is dating at least 3 women and secretly married one in August and is still dating all those other women. Niggas ain't shit. Wow. And that's Amanda on Facebook.
Yeah, there's a shortage of men. He's just trying to help y'all out. Wait. A better question is, what happened to the sisterhood? None of that would be going on if it wasn't for the sisterhood.
Well, let me see here. So she says, so the key word is secretly married one in August and still dating all those other women. So do they know about it? And Sunlight says, perfect example. James Evans got married because Florida was pregnant, but he told JJ not to get married when he thought he impregnated his girlfriend. Oh.
Mother's baby, father's maybe. That's where that stuff comes from.
Well, let's just rest right there, just really, really quick, and then I'm get on to the rest of these comments. And so I think the other thing we need to concede too is, because it's funny, I was having a conversation with somebody about the show Good Times today, and we know that Good Times, yeah, it has some feel-good messages, but mostly it was to promote the single Black motherhood, because they always were trying to get rid of James and assert JJ as the main character, the buffoon on the show. And so it's not surprising that that line or whatever that particular episode will be written to dissuade JJ from making his potentially pregnant girlfriend legitimate. Because if you believe that there was a government push to get rid of or dilapidate the Black family, then you also got to believe that Hollywood was complicit in that as well, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, and wasn't there an episode when Henrietta was already pregnant and JJ wanted to marry her?
I believe so. I didn't get to watch a lot of TV, but I remember vaguely that episode. And Monet says, I'm in the midst of a divorce. I don't want to get married anytime soon after it's final, but I do want more kids. A committed relationship is good enough for me at this point. So, and I'm sorry that you are going through a divorce. I don't know if you are, but I'm sorry for you. But yeah, sometimes divorces and breakups can be so traumatic. Where you're like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to get married. I just want to be in a committed relationship. So I completely understand that. Pioneer says, sis, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but I would say a large percentage, almost half of Black American women under 40 seem to find them attractive. After 40, they start wising up. But okay, let me give you a little bit of pushback, Pioneer, before I get to these other comments. Would you also say that is true for men? That y'all want the hot girl and the city girls and, the ratchets and all of that? I'm just asking the question. Let me get to these comments. And Anais says, dating is practicing for divorce. Wow, explain that. I want to hear more about that. And let's see. Amanda says, that's why children are born out of wedlock. Okay, because you're basically saying, to your last comment, he's got 3 other women, 3 women, one secretly he married and the other 2. And so, yeah, I guess that's a good point. And Kiki, it says, I just don't agree with that method of thinking, though. I think both men and women are gatekeepers to sex. A woman can be sexually attracted to a man, and if he's not attracted to her, she gets no sex. I just don't think sex is a respecter of gender. But in all fairness, women can't marry if men aren't asking. Let's keep it real. And so that's why I asked that question too. Are you saying that men are asking and women are just running to the hills like, no, I won't do it? And Nisi, you say, and how you doing, by the way? He says, those who want men that are bad boys are what's in the community, not surrounding themselves with different quality of men. Yeah, and that's why I said, I don't hang out with women like that. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I just wondered how many women are actually pursuing bad boys, on purpose anyway. And the agitator says, Gloria Steinem push, I don't need no man narrative. The Black women wrote books, etc. She wanted to destroy the Black family. She definitely was an agent, like for real. Gloria Steinem was an agent. And Anna says, dating is for liars. Ooh, I want to hear more about this. And Amanda says, Donovan, they know your heart belonged to me. Oh,
Yeah, I lost a lot of admirers on this show.
funny. And Nisi says sometimes it's the product of your environment can be childhood trauma. That's all they know. They may know some need healing and understanding. Absolutely. Y'all know I advocate for people going to get some therapy and get some healing so you can get rid of those past traumas and, just live a better quality of life. So I totally agree with you. Sunlight says, I see a lot of deflection and dodging the question. Can we have a serious and honest conversation, please?
No, that's not dodging the question. Like I said, it's a very hard question, and it's just my opinion. I'm one person out of millions, so we're just the convo is the convo. If it's not something you want to hear, and that's another problem. This is like when Demetra started the show, what she heard was, but that isn't what I said. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, that's what I heard you say. Maybe you got a ventriloquist in the room.
Right. But again, that's what you heard. But if you really looked at my words and really read them, what I said, I'm not putting blame on just women. I said men as well. I said 50% here, 50% there, and so on, so on, so forth.
You said that afterwards.
Right. But my point is, a lot of people only hear what they want to hear. I am just one person of an opinion. You don't like my opinion? Just move on.
I wasn't saying you were. I didn't see. That's the problem. I didn't say you were wrong. I'm just telling you what I heard.
Oh, no. What I'm saying is, in regards to sunlight, I'm just one person of millions, and Demetra knows I am one person that says I could only take 50% of what's wrong in a relationship. Period. Both sides, we need both. We need each other. The divisiveness we don't need. At the end of the day, my message is, regardless of who is at fault, you can't go no more than 50%. You can't.
Gotcha. Dragon Lily says, I'm 43 years old and my husband is going to be 50. We have a big family. We are also teaching our children the benefits of marriage and family. I love it. And more of us should do that. Start really teaching the benefits instead of, and I want to say a lot of us are doing that, but there's enough of it going on, right? Single mama, single father, there's you're better together. How about that? And Kubler, he says, I think to make marriage more attractive to Blacks, we need to increase our sense of financial literacy. Marriage equals money. You know what? You make an excellent point, because especially in today's time, and we're going to start to see this a little bit more, because, as they say, when America catches the cold, Black people catch the flu. And with all these high rising gas prices and food prices and rent going through the roof, we're going to see just how much we need each other, right? It's going to be harder and harder for a lot of single people, unless you're just making a lot of money, right? It's going to be harder for a lot of single people to maintain one household. And you're going to start to think, well, wow, maybe it is better if I get with somebody who was on the same page and, we save money. But then I don't know if the other side of the comment means that marriage can cost people money. I don't know. You tell me. And Sunlight says, oh, please. And Kiki says, me either. I don't know women who want bad boys. I'm just telling y'all. And the Pioneer says, Brother Don, you were right, bro. A lot of women loved it when you treat them like and dog them and cuss them out. I don't understand it because I'm not a woman, but I couldn't be a part of it. And Brother Samuel says, no, the baby was planned. Got it. No shotgun. However, I could not see not being with my baby and letting someone else raise her. I was raised to take responsibility. My karate instructor, a preacher, told me it was the right thing as well. Got it. And I love it. And H. McDaniel just says, I was married twice. The first one ended up to be crazy as a bat. The second one was too old and weak, but he was nice. Couldn't do it because of his weakness. I felt like I had to defend him. Nah. Okay. Got it. And DJ Charisma, how you doing? He says, both parents never married and broke up when I was 5, I believe. However, I am 24 years old and my self-respect is high through the roof. And me and my boyfriend / fiance agreed no babies until marriage. And that is very smart.
Yep. But isn't that something? He didn't, she didn't come from a marriage situation, and they're adamant about having children within marriage.
Got it. And Amanda says, yo, daddy said you got a beautiful mama. That's why you got a beautiful daughter. I love it.
Of course.
And the Pioneer says, it is what it is. It took me years to accept the fact that so many of our women love to be mistreated and dogged out. Look at gangsta rap and how popular it is among so many of our sisters. I mean,
well, you also got to think of, look at how many guys go into prison and they get out and they've got multiple. I mean, let's say the guy went in at a young age and he's just into trouble all the time. These guys that come out of jail and stuff are not lacking for women. They get more than the law allows.
I mean, but you said look at gangster rap and how popular it is among so many of our sisters. I mean, but yeah, it might be true, but who's making the gangster rap? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
Nicki Minaj, Meg Thee Stallion. Can I go on? You need to go on?
Sunlight says, thank you, Demetra. You're welcome. And Dragon Lily says, we will investigate people for our children because I'm not marrying my children to toxic people who are a part of a toxic family. I have time for drama. Yes. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's called the courting process, right? As my father always said, you got to take the relationship to court, see what their family is like, and they see what your family is like, because ultimately you're going to be marrying into that family. And so you want to get the whole picture of what you're going to be getting into. So I agree. And Taylor, how you doing? You says neither one of us, Black men and women, are taking responsibility of the trauma, destruction, and stigmas that are destroying our communities. Yet we're choosing to sterilize each other. Wow, good point. And Pioneer says another thing I noticed about this bad boy infatuation among so many of our women is that while they'll demand that a Black man be a bad boy, they don't mind getting with a soft white dude. Oh my God.
And we're seeing how that is turning out.
Y'all need to stop watching so much TV. DJ Charisma says, I don't want to wait for marriage, only kids. So I don't want to make, so you saying you want, I don't want to wait for marriage, only kids, you mean? Maybe I'm reading that wrong.
And I think she means like she wants to wait for the kids later.
Got it. Okay. And J. Joa, how are you? Thank you so much for the donation. I love it. Appreciate you for that. You said men decide when a proposal comes. The woman just has to say yes or no. If a man doesn't propose, no marriage happens, even if she wants it to get married. I agree. And Kiki says, but let's be fair. The nerdy guy wasn't checking for the good girls in school either. He wanted the popular girls, just like now I hear and see men discussing women. They say they don't want more than the kind of women they say they do want. And
okay, true. When I was in high school, I just did not give Demetra's sister a chance. And now look at me, 30 years later, wishing I should have done the right thing. So I concede that.
Sucker. And Tawana said there's a documentary that was done in the 80s about single mothers living in public housing. The majority of the women came from southern states to major cities with their husbands in the 1950s. So I think I saw, we were talking about that not too long ago. It was a documentary by, I think it was Jim Moynihan or something like that. Not Moynihan, Bob Moyers or somebody. He did the report in the 1980s out and it showcased girls and young women from New Jersey and talk about their situations with their kids' father and stuff like that. I mean, but again, y'all got to remember that was done by a major white network, and not saying none of that was true, but it was a lot.
Bill Moyers was an advisor to Lyndon Baines Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act and all those other things, tricking Black people into supporting the Democratic Party for the next 500 years.
Right. And DJ Charisma, you said, agreed, Aunt Demetra. And the Pioneer says, look at the rapper Eve. Eve rapped about how much she loved thugs and gangsters, but turned around and married the squarest white dude. I mean, but one thing I would say about Eve, I don't ever hear her disparaging Black men. I just don't hear her doing it yet. She went off and married a square white dude who happens to be a billionaire, but I don't know. And Taylor says, rather than allowing one to be themselves, that's why there's a high bad boy statistic, because women find them more attractive than a typical school boy. And Rain, how you doing? Says Shalom, a salt of the earth. Yes, indeed. And the Pioneer says, I don't think there's a shortage of men. Everywhere you go, there are not only plenty of men, but plenty of Black men, young Black men. Just only a few of them are actually wanted. Yeah, I'm going to keep reading these comments so I can catch up because I have a lot to say. And Mr. Pirate Brain, how you doing? Long time no see. Says peace at Demetra and Donovan. And Amanda says, I don't think any of the women know about each other. He claims he's single and can do what he wants. Yet all that nonsense right there, you know. And then when one of them end up pouring some hot grits on him, then he ain't going to understand. And H. McDaniel says, Donovan, most real quote unquote black men are not trying to get married. Where do you live? I don't want crazy and weak. Actually, I've given up. I'm cool.
Well, I'm in California, and like Demetra says, she doesn't know women that do what they do. I don't know the men that I hang out don't want 304s and stuff like that, and they're doing very well for themselves. And I live in California.
And Rain, you say facts. And JT, how you doing? He says you're either over exceptional with money, earrings, a sugar daddy, or like they say, a pookie. Nothing about me ever wanted a pookie. Not saying that you're saying about me, but I'm just, thinking out loud. And Kiki says, no, James of Florida was married before she got pregnant. They were joking about that in that episode, and it was corrected. And let JJ know that he was conceived in marriage. Okay. But thank you for the correction. Like I said, I vaguely remember the episode.
Yeah, I think me and Sunlight were on the same page there. She was talking about the episode with Henrietta, the girl that was already pregnant. She was already pregnant. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Kiki actually made the comment. And Sunlight says, that's the episode I'm talking about, Donovan. Okay, got it. And JT says, and black men collectively are at a point now. Here you go. Have it. Okay, and he says, and black men are falling back. So you're saying black men are falling back in regards to dating other women other than black women. Is that what you're saying? And Tawana says, once in the city, those Southern men met a different kind of woman. They walked out on their families. This created so many bitter women.
Right. And let me just comment on that. Tawana, you know what? You're correct, because I talk about that on the podcast at how you see these, our parents' age, the baby boomer type. When the civil rights era and all this civil rights and being equal, this gave especially a lot of these young men at the time, they were young men, access to interracial sex. That's why they're kind of mad and bitter now, because, they look at the younger generations now that interracial sex is now more of a norm type thing where you have, biracial children and stuff. That's normal now. Whereas when they were coming up, that was almost no access. And so when that gate opened in the 70s and stuff, you are absolutely right. They walked out on a lot of families based on the fact that they have access to interracial sex. A good example would be David Ruffin, married to a black woman, whatever, got famous, whatever, got access, got money, got opportunities, went to the other side immediately.
Got it. And somebody says, Demetra, it most definitely is true. Women are expected to be mature right out of the womb. And JT says, women are complaining now about how men aren't approaching them in public. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just letting y'all know. Back to the comments. And Don says, the government is Hollywood and corporate America is the government. Good point. And Pioneer says, to answer your question, says some men desire the city girls and hot girls, usually younger and less experienced men under 25. Most fully grown men don't. They want feminine, sexually restrained. Okay. So you said they want feminine, sexually restrained. Explain that. And Brother Jonell, how you doing? You say, peace, Queen, Brother Donovan, and fam. JT says, I'm always reading a woman's language and face saying something to me. Sometimes even women stand up to me closer in the lines and the stores just for me to say something. Okay. And Monet says, some of these women out here are asking men to marry them, getting down on one knee and everything. That's doing too much. I couldn't do that. Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. I don't get that. I mean, what is it, a form of desperation? Like, because I hear some men too say it wouldn't bother them if a woman approached them or asked them on a date and all of that. I'm like, nah, I don't want no man who would be comfortable with me propositioning him first. I still think that the man should be the one that comes up to a woman, hey, how you doing? I like you. Now, women can send choosing signals, but as far as dropping down on one knee or saying, hey, you look good, can I take you out on a date? Never that. And Sunlight says, Donovan, are you advising others to do that? And that's why I want to catch up on these comments unless you understand what she's saying. And DJ Christmas says, excuse me, Uncle Donovan, I have a serious question. Okay, well, we're going to wait and see what your question is. And Jay Joel says, women decide when sex happens by consenting. The men just has to consent, but men can't make a woman want to sleep with him. It doesn't matter how many dates they go on. That is true. And Rain says, I'm not the marrying type. I could pick a good man to save my life. I'm good. So you mean you couldn't pick a good man? And Kiki says, and let me just say, a lot of brothers use the feminist quote unquote card when it doesn't apply. Any pushback from black women nowadays were called feminists. Most sisters I know are not feminists. Many brothers are using that word now to shut sisters up. They're using it where it doesn't apply. I will actually agree with you on that, because as I said too, a lot of these brothers out here, maybe not y'all, maybe them over there, are using the term modern women or calling women delusional when they are ineffective of arguing their point. So they apply that. Now they apply that. Oh, you a feminist. Oh, you a modern woman. It's like y'all brothers are getting it messed up.
Men want
communication. Let me finish. Traditional women are also smart women, and a lot of y'all brothers. See, my dad is listening, so he through my sister, he can correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of y'all brothers think that traditional women they sit in the corner, they don't speak, and they're there at your beck and call. Yes, sir. Motisa, is your shirt crisp enough? Okay, let me go sit in the corner now and be quiet. And anytime a woman has an opinion about something, y'all try to mislabel her as being a modern woman. Oh, she talking too much, but y'all got the game messed up. Anybody know a woman worth her weight is going to add something valuable to a relationship, whether it is some wisdom or knowledge or something else. But maybe I'm on a rant here. I think some of y'all brothers who want the traditional woman, y'all probably would be better off with a blow-up doll. I'm just saying.
Men just want cooperation at the end of the day.
Y'all want cooperation, but not all of y'all. I'm just saying, some of these men, and I agree with Kiki. Y'all say y'all want cooperation, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying that some of these men, but y'all really want a woman who is just there. And that's why I said I get the impression of a blow-up doll. Honestly, when I hear a lot of men talk about a traditional woman. And JT says a lot of good men get passed up for the boring guy, too nice guy. And Pioneer says, sis, to further answer your question, men want women for two different and separate things. They want a woman for sex, but they also want a woman for social status and making a family. Okay. JT says so. Now a lot are like, well, we'll just watch it burn to the ground and go our own way. Oh, wow. Brother Samuel say, women for the most part, I feel push or want to be married to the guy they fall for, and men today stress not into the married thing. It's a generation thing. To Donovan's point, men doing what they do want dry wells. I think he said, when I grew up, the girls wanted the bad boy. Okay. Donovan says, we need each other. You can never put no more than 50% on each half of the relationship. No one or answer or group is the problem. It's collectively a problem together. Good point. The Pioneer says, Rain Love has got me curious by the comment. Laugh out loud. Need to unpack that one. Yes, indeed. H. McDaniel say, I want to make something clear. I've given up because I can't grow old with someone because I'm already old. Laugh out loud. Now, old is a state of mind, sister. JT says, a man is supposed to take care of it all right. And you also say, I mean, it isn't a man supposed to provide? Yes.
Yes, but can I answer this? If you already come into a relationship with children, see, and that's where a lot of women get it wrong. You expect a man's nature is not to take care of other men's children. That's not our nature. But if they do it, great for them. Awesome, great guy. But 9 times out of 10, you want us to take care of. So let's say you have 3 children. That's 3 mouths to feed. But you want me to take care of the house, this, that, and this. Technically, by finances, that isn't fair at all. And let's say I have no children. Let's just say I have none. But it's a big thing. So that's why a lot of people say women are delusional. You want us to take care of another man's responsibility, and that's not our nature.
I hear that argument a lot too. But y'all brothers don't ever talk about the 50-11 cheering y'all got by different women, but y'all got the nerve. And listen, I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. But then y'all say y'all don't want to take care of another man's kids, but another man is taking care of y'all kids. Because if you ain't married to your baby mama, or somebody else is probably taking care of that child.
Well, we don't know that situation, but what we're saying is the nature of men. That's where everybody's getting it confused. Women are trying to wear men's pants, and men are trying to wear women's dresses. And I'm talking literally. And that's what's going on. The roles are getting messed up. In my situation, I'm not a rich man or whatever. I'm a well-off man. But You got women that will bring 3 children into it. Hypothetically, I can't discipline those children. There's like 2 sets of rules. It's all messed up. But you expect us to be real men and take care of everything. And what do you bring to the table? Oops, sorry to bring that up. That's a trigger word.
It's not as triggering as you think it is. But let me go ahead to these comments. And JT also said there isn't a woman nowadays that believes that the baby boomer generation thinks of it takes 80-20 rule with men and women. You also say, hey, if you're not able to fully provide as a man solely, you're lacking to these women. No, I mean, I think we need to be a little bit more wise in the times that we're living in. I mean, we're not living in the times where inflation was low, where a man could be the sole provider for the family. Now it takes 2 people. But I mean, just because a man is not able to provide fully does that not make him the man of the household? He is still the man of the household, if that makes any sense. Shadow says economics predict by 2053 Black median household net worth will be 0. You're absolutely right. And actually, it's a little bit before that. It says on average, the point is we need each other and to be a quality when we combine. But hey, trash sells pretty damn well. And you know what? You made an excellent point. And actually said that it was 2032 that we are supposed to be close to being out of money as Black people.
Right, because in 2008, they took a third of Black wealth. The pandemic took another 15%, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So you're right, spot on. Our thing is going to be 0. And when it goes to 0, do you know what that means? We're a problem.
Absolutely. So I'm going to get to some of these comments because I know some of y'all have been waiting for a minute. DJ Cruiser says, thank you both so much. No, thank you. And JT says, so come on. And what do you mean by that? And that's what I want to catch up to. And Kiki says, a huge part of the problem in the Black community is we talk more about division than unity. There just seems to be a huge power struggle between Black men and women. And I believe a lot of it is intentional and being orchestrated. I'm starting to look at these things closer. There's a lot of monetization coming from Black men and women being divisive. And you are 100% right. And don't you think for one moment that is not going on YouTube, which is why I see a lot of these channels that talk bad about Black women and talk bad about Black men. They're very lucrative and they have a large following because that is what's being sold to the Black community. Even if you watch something like TV, you rarely see Black couples together. It's usually an interracial couple or something like that. It's a good point. Pioneer says a man is supposed to be the provider depending on your culture and religion. In Islam, the men are the providers, and in most cultures, men are. However, in this society, women make more money than men. Well, that's not always necessarily true. It's funny because I did my homework, and it says that Black men, are just as much likely to make $75,000 or more as Black women. So again, we got to be careful of the information that we ingest because yes, society would like us to think that Black women are the main breadwinners and she's making the most money than Black men.
She's the most educated, so on.
Well, I mean, it depends on what source you're reading, but it's not necessarily true that Black women are making more money than Black men. Anyway, and you also say they should read Black women usually make more than Black men in the society. Well, it depends on what source you're looking at. And Tiffany, how you doing? Says all Black women are not into gangster rap, so please stop. And I totally agree with you on that.
Right, and we're not an all-encompassing. Yeah, we're not an all-encompassing thing, but you guys have seen the trends. You guys seen what's going on. It doesn't mean everybody, so we don't get on that point.
And JT says, but you can't tell Black women that. And the Pioneer says, Brother Don, you hit the nail on the head again. I've seen it over and over again and had to school younger brothers about how so many men just get out of prison, have so many women. But the other part of it too, and I agree with that, there's a lot of men who get out of prison that have women, but y'all acting like these men too that are in prison aren't doing the whole throwing a little bait out there. And a lot of those men in prison, I guess to y'all point, have more than one woman. So it's kind of weird, but the best way I heard it from some women is, well, I know where he's at. I know where he's at. I know he ain't gonna be out all night and all this other stuff. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I have heard that before.
And hopefully he didn't drop the soap in the prison and bring something home to you.
I mean, if he a dog, he gonna do that if he ain't in prison too. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I saw one show that said, I'm only gay when I'm in here.
And JT says, a woman damn near argued me to death when I told her economically, socially, and financially, Black women are killing black men, or you're gonna have to fill that one out a little bit. I do tell about that one. Chocolate girl, how you doing? And Earl, what's going on with you? It says easy to get married, hard to stay married, need to be committed to something greater than volatile feelings and emotions. Yes. And is it really hard? You know what? I will concede that it is hard to stay married if you do not know how to communicate. And to your point, if you are a selfish individual and you don't know how to compromise, right? Yeah, it's very hard to stay married. And Tiffany says, no marriage, no baby. So you're saying that's for yourself? And Rain says, if I waited for marriage or a good man, I would have never had children. No regrets. And Brother Joe, now you say, what's love got to do with it? Majority of our relationships have its roots in lust. Majority of our children are born more lust than love. And there are no classes given men and women to root in self-awareness and self-love. So majority of relating and results are chaos, as the labels baby daddy, baby mama, all drama booming, ill-minded children whom parental base is toxic and ignorant teachers of children. That's a good word. And Amanda says, Khalid says, ladies only like bad guys because they don't have to commit to them and they can leave whenever they want. And that is from my nephew. My nephew Khalid said that. So he says, because they don't have to commit to them and they can leave when they want. So you're saying the ladies like them because they don't have to commit? I don't know. And JT
until
says
they get caught with the baby. Until they get caught with the baby, then next thing you know, I need child support. He's a bad guy.
JT say deflecting. It says masters of that. Saying women are masters of deflecting. Okay. Tiffany says I can't argue with you on that. Rain. The pickings are slim, and the good ones don't want marriage. Well, I would say this too. You know, I've been in a few relationships. Okay, been in a few relationships. And none of them all been good, and I don't assign blame to just one person, but I still believe that there are good men out there somewhere. I don't think that Michelle Obama's got the last good black man, as I've heard some women say, you know. And so, Tana, how you doing? It says, hey, D, hey, chat, what's going on with you? And DJ Charisma says, I would like to wait until after marriage, and get married to have me and my future husband's children. And to be honest, I'm saving myself for engagement marriage, and he's very gentle with me and he encourages me 24/7. Now that's a good relationship right there. You're very lucky.
It takes two.
Yes, indeed. JT says the pickings are slim because the good ones are burnt out. Damn. And Tana says that's BS. And Jay Joa says, now let's be more real. The nerds like Steve Urkel got rejected by nerd women as well as chasing Pookie and Ray Ray. Also, women are not checking for men in STEM fields. And you say, or tradesmen until they got kids. So you're saying they running with Ray Ray and Pookie and getting knocked up by them. And then when that doesn't work out, they want a quality man. Is that what you're saying? And Tana says, yep. Tana says, I want the educated lame, quote unquote. Okay. Finder says, I say over 75% of the men at my job who got out of the pen are married and have a lot of children, and they're cheating on women at work. See, at work, that's a higher percentage than brothers who didn't go. Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they learned the art of macking or something in there. I couldn't tell you what that's about. And JT, you say, yeah, Myra was gorgeous. And didn't Steve eventually date her later on in the show? Yeah, when he kind of, well, yes, she liked him. Did she like Steve Urkel for the nerdy character? Because the other one was Stefan, right? Wasn't he the one with all the, he was suave and debonair? And I think Laura liked him, right? If I'm not mistaken. And Sunlight says, as a black woman, you don't have to disparage black men to be hated. Yet a black man can do it all day long and get a pass.
But wait a minute. Wait, let me push back on that real quick, though. Okay, so where is it known that black men have this national anthem that says black women ain't shit? The only group I know that say that their men ain't shit is black women. So, like I said, I'm not arguing this. I'm just saying, you're saying that black men are saying all this stuff about black women. That hasn't been until recently. You guys have been talking, I mean, not you guys, but black women or these feminists, whoever they are, have been painting this narrative, Oprah and all that. You guys know what I'm talking about, Oprah and all these groups, that black men are these bad things and we ain't shit. We don't take care of our kids. You guys been doing that for over 40 years. 40 years. And we didn't say a word.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that can go back and forth. It's been a lot of divisiveness going on in the Black community for a very long time. And JT says, yeah, I think Steve ended up with the girl that wanted him and chased him. Okay. And the Pioneer says, Brother Donovan, man, that cat looks mean. Laugh out loud. Need to change his name from T'Challa to Shaka Zulu.
Oh yeah, he's very, very unpredictable. He'll scratch you and you don't even know why.
Tiffany says that's always the cop out, claiming we all want someone named Pookie. Yeah, I agree with you, because like I said, I don't know any women who want a Pookie like man or someone.
Yeah. I'm going to cut you off on that. What I said was younger women, and I used the narrative of my cousins. It's something that's programmed where in every species, you want the strong alpha male. And you've got a lot of these young, when they're young, men are young, that are bad boys. I'm a rapper. You got that swag, and they're really not. And that's the sad thing, that these girls are being fooled by these guys that pretend to be these strong Black men or whatever. Come to find out, they're not. And that's what we're saying. It's this program. You want the stronger person when they're young and strong. Nobody wants a 40-year-old man coming out of jail, ain't got a dime in his pocket, a window to, throw it out of. No, he's 40 years old. He's 20 years behind. What can I offer a woman coming out of the pen? Not saying that, but I'll be working until I'm 80 years old. If I stay on the right path, I have nothing to offer you because my stronger years are gone. We're talking about when young people are young, they think that that's the way to go.
I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to let y'all get to that comment. And let's see here. Harley, how you doing? It says, Eve said some crazy issue about so-called Black men, one of those morning talk shows. Okay, so I stand corrected. And Jay Joe says, a lot of single moms have multiple kids by multiple Pookies and Ray Rays. It's not that they couldn't get with Steve Urkel. They thought he was boring and they wanted a guy with some swag or romantic thug. Okay. And JT says the majority do. And Jafia, how you doing? Says, good evening, D and Donovan and all. And Moni says, Demetria, are you going to start having 2 days of the week where you be on like Sunday and day? Please let me know. I'm finally moving and I sent you an email because I would love to talk to you. Okay. I got your email. I just need to get back with you. And I don't know yet if we're going to do another live show. We have to discuss that. Pioneer says, I don't know how much Eve says about Black men today, but when she was a young rapper, she promoted the gangster lifestyle heavily and rapped about how much she loved thugs and gangster Black men. I would say the operative word is when she was younger. Jonelle says, women find security in bad guys as programmed, just as the saying goes, nice guys finish last is blinder to the majority. A woman should desire her man to finish last and not come quickly. So they program to the bad. And not programmed to love the bad guy for security. The bad guy is programmed to disrespect and disregard women after usury. And majority of women chase the toxic like it the future only to have the worst day. Whoa. And Jafai says, O.J. Simpson also left his Black wife for a white woman.
Exactly.
Sunlight says, if you are smart and lack charisma and confidence, that's their fault. Stop shaming females because you were lacking. And hold on,
how is that shaming? But we'll get back to it.
Yeah, let me get to these comments. And Jay Lee, how you doing? He says the Melanin Marine. All right now. He says, shout out to you, Sister K and Recovering Democrat. Quick question. What exactly is a Pookie and Ray Ray? You know what? It's funny. I wasn't going to ask that question, but I was going to ask who is responsible for the Pookie and Ray Ray. So if y'all can answer that, and what exactly is a Pookie and Ray Ray, I would love it. And Sunlight says, just like someone said, smart guys weren't pursuing girls just like them. And Brother Jonelle say, men and women need to truly know themselves and have root in self before relating. Yes, you got to know yourself first, right? Sunlight says Eve was no different from Cube and Snoop. Again, portrayed a persona in their music.
Studio gangsters, right? Right. She's right.
And to that point, I mean, Cube and Snoop been married to their women forever. Like high school damn near. They've been with their women. So I just want to throw that out there. And Tana said, that's why I don't F with, oh, okay. Got you. And Moni says, I'm loving the raspberry lipstick. It looks beautiful on you, Demetria, and got your little curls. You go, girl. I think Donovan can show us his nice shaved bald head. Handsome. Well, thank you so much. And H. McDaniel says, Donovan, I'm from California too. I guess it depends on what part of Cali I'm from. Fresno, born and raised. Also, I lived in the Bay Area, never Southern California.
Okay, I'm in Southern California, so you're from the Bay. Are there still Black people that live up there? I thought that was all Asian.
And Pioneer says, I don't use the term Pookie laugh out loud. I use the Mario laugh out loud. And Tanner says, preach. Sunlight says, speaking of that, Donovan, can you elaborate on why two smart people can't be together? Because you never did. If you can do that quickly so I can get to the comments.
Two smart people can't be together because it's like a magnet. A north and a north repel, and a south and a south repel. But if you flip them together, they come together. They just can't. They can't work together. Two smart people can't work. I mean, they can if they work on it, but it's a lot of work. It would be a lot of work. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it can, but very rare. It's very rare.
Kiki says, yes, they imply that a traditional woman is a doormat. Yes, indeed. And Tanny says, yes. And you say, no. And Pioneer says, Dante and DeMario are my names for the stereotypical negative Black males born after 1980. Lord have mercy. DJ Kirsten says, Uncle Donovan, you say, what should I do if my boyfriend, fiance is experiencing depression? Thank you so much.
Therapy. Go to therapy. Get him into therapy. That's all I can tell you because I'm not a therapist and like that. In the Black community, we are so against doctors and stuff. Get some therapy. Would you agree with that, Demetra? If anything we're going to agree on, would you agree that that's some good advice?
Yeah, I think we all need therapy. It's not a bad thing to go to therapy. It helps you compartmentalize the things that are going on in your life and in your mind and make sense of a lot of things. So I suggest everybody try it at least once or twice.
I've been in there for 30 years over her sister, and I'm still going.
JT says, laughing my ass off. And Tiffany says, women are passed over as well. Let's not act as if this doesn't happen. So I'm not buying these sob stories from the fellas. A lot of women have been rejected as well. Humans will be humans, and that is very true. And Tanner says, you're right, sis. And JT says she's right. And Moni says, much love. So you're talking to the pioneer. And let's see. And Shiloh says, I love Demetra's sarcasm, fiery. I could sit back and listen all day. Well, I appreciate that. And Rain says, submissive, not me. And Tanner says, you are weak. Level up, bro. You also say, don't sleep with her then. And then you also say, hell yes. And JT says, a man should step up, right? Yeah, I mean, I think both men and women should step up. I don't think it's just on the man. I think it's on both of them. Because in life, we're supposed to be evolving. We're not supposed to stay the same, right? We're supposed to be growing and improving and all of that until you die, at least I think.
There is somebody for everybody in this world. I'm sorry.
Yes, and Arrow says, so many of our brothers are soft with no leadership skills, more sensitive than necessary. I want to point out that wait a minute now, that was a gentleman who said that. That did not come from a woman. That came from a man.
Yes, and I would agree with them. And this is my opinion. I believe they are so sensitive and lack leadership skills because it's not being taught at the home. And for men to be successful, it just can't be one sided. It can't just be one parent. And I don't care who the parent is. Because I was raised in a widowed home by a widowed mother, and I became fairly successful and productive in society. So you need both. And the problem is, if our ladies are having single kids and they're not marrying the father, and you're having kids when you're fairly super young, the kid is going to lack something. That's just a fact.
Got it. JT says, nah, step up, a man. And then Black Man, he says, multi-tribe. I just watched
Posse
last night. Okay. Was it is that something I said? Motisa? Is that what I said? And you said as a man, JT. Okay. And Tiffany says, unless she's of another race, I have seen plenty of Black men with non-Black women who had kids previous to getting with her. So stop the fronting. Ooh. JT
well,
says,
I never, like I said, we're all in agreement that a lot of Black men, even from our parents' age, the baby boomers have left their families to get with other women, and it's still going on today. There's more interracial relationships today than ever before. So we're not saying that doesn't exist.
And JT says, you got to step up, right? And Brother Jonelle says, a man should know how to cook, clean, do laundry, etc. A man should be a compliment to a woman, and a woman compliment to a man. Relationship and partnership go hand in hand, but we are programming every other fraction, but 50-50. Men are the maintainers of women. So what's brought to a relationship is what you got to handle as a man and woman. And Tiffany, you say him, and Rain says, yes, Demetra. And Sergeant Lauder, how are you doing? It says, y'all should read the Willie Lynch letter on here one day. They said it worked for 300 years and it still does like a charm. And so, yes, I am very familiar with the Willie Lynch letter. I've read it and I have actually given it out as a gift. But I will also say that the authenticity of the Willie Lynch letter has been called into question because it is said actually somebody wrote it in, I think, 1970s or something like that. And basically, it talked about Willie Lynch being a master slave owner, and he was teaching other slave owners how to condition their slaves, separate the man and the woman, have the woman over the man, and just basically the stuff that we see today. And so while the authenticity of the letter has been called into question, it still raises a lot of questions and issues that need to be addressed. The Pioneer says, first of all, whether a man should provide or not, the society actively tries to prevent Black men from accumulating, wealth and property. This should be taken into account.
Yeah, accumulating.
Okay, that's what it is. I was like, never seen that word before, but it's missing a couple of letters. And Tana says, and men abide. JT says, that's not how they see it. And Givetta says, Demetri K and Donovan, happy Sunday to you and your chat family. Yes, and happy Sunday to you as well. Pioneer says, I don't have a lot of confidence that this problem will be solved anytime soon. There is too much denial going on, especially among many of our women. Too many refuse to acknowledge reality. So we're going to blame the women again, huh? And Sunlight says, why are the majority of us advocating for shotgun weddings? Why?
Because our culture depends on it. We need to start getting married. We got to do it, because without marriage, you have no rights. You have, there's so many benefits to it that people don't know that. Okay, let me give you a quick example. I'm not married right now, right? But I'm a military veteran. Even if I got married to a woman that has kids right now because of my benefits, but I have to be married, I can give my new wife that has my stepchildren to go to school for free. But I have to be married to do those things. That's what I'm saying. Our species depends on it.
Pioneer says, at least most Black men will concede that they are at least part of the problem and check each other in public. I've seen few Black women outside of Sister Shahrazad Ali do this. Well, I mean, have you seen every Black woman? Because I'm going to tell you that as much as I can, I do try to hold my fellow sisters accountable. So just because you don't see it, that doesn't mean that it's not going on. I want to say this really quick, and I'm going to get to these comments. I think a lot of people need to get out of social media as a main source of education and information. Y'all see, and this is the thing, and I explained this to y'all once before from my point of view. When I'm on Facebook, which is rare nowadays, they have these things called reels now. And in these reels, it's the most ratchet and just deplorable behavior. And so those things are programmed to us. And so when you say you don't see a lot of Black women checking other Black women, I mean, how many Black women do you hang around on a daily basis? And everything does not take place on social media. It just doesn't. There's real life outside of social media. And I think we as humans, we've gotten so conditioned to thinking, well, if I don't see it on social media, then it's not true. But you don't know if Miss Ann up the street ain't said something to the girl across the street, or her nieces or her daughters or something from behind their behavior. You don't know that, right? And Brother Samuel says, Demetri, lately I've seen that kind of man you described on a video a sister put out. Otherwise, I couldn't imagine them bold enough to express those antiquated views of the woman's role. Earlier, I meant to say men in general don't want dry wells. They still want the option to possibly have children. Driving, got you. So you're saying they want to be able to reproduce. Got you. And Kiki says, right, at least most men know about women's kids. Try being a woman out here and dealing with men who are hiding a football team. I was watching a video the other week of a brother who had 40. If the Black community wants healing, these double standards on accountability has to end. There has to stop being this invisible and subliminal acceptance of hypersexuality among our men that has been carried over from slavery. Is not attractive. Having a bunch of kids isn't attractive. And so what you're saying basically is it's accountability on both ends. So
yes, totally absolutely. But at the same time, we have to increase our number. I'm not saying go out there and have a love fest, but I'm just saying we need to expand the Black population here within the United States, because other groups are surpassing us and putting us at the bottom. If you don't have the numbers, you don't have the numbers to vote or to affect any change. So.
And Tiffany say, absolutely. And Rain says, I always made more money than my date. And Pioneer says, Queen, well, to your point about women choosing brothers in prison because at least they know he's not out cheating with other men. Ask yourself why a woman would be so possessive anyway. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think, I don't know why. I think that was probably said with the emphasis on, well, if he was out, he'd probably be cheating. I don't know. I'm just, that I never waited for a man on the prison steps. I'll just tell you that. And Africa First, thank you so much for the roses. I appreciate that. And welcome. And Pioneer says women around the world are concerned with whether or not a man comes from a good family. And it says, and has enough wealth to support her and the children. Afro-American women concerned with who a man is sleeping with. Well, I mean, I'm concerned with that. If you're supposed to be my man, I don't want you out there sleeping with everybody else. And Sherry, if I didn't already, how are you? Said, Donovan, let your cat get a quick meow and laugh out loud. And Africa First, she says he's not black. Barack is half white. And yeah, he's half black as well. And Anita says, so I'm curious, Donovan, could you elaborate a little bit more about women that have kids? Do you think that disqualifies them? I'm confused.
No, women that have kids, it isn't disqualifying, but at the same time, okay, put it like this. Men want to take care of their own children, okay? And and a man that takes care of all the kids, that's great. And most men should do that. However, and I know you guys don't want to hear this, ladies, most men out here don't go out here saying, wow, I want to find me a woman with 3 kids. They don't do that. They usually want a woman that has no kids and have children with her. That's just the man's nature. I'm not saying it's right. It's just the way we're programmed. It's programmed like that in any species. A good example, lions. If a lion sees a female lion and she has cubs, what does he do? He kills all the male cubs. The only ones that usually live are the female cubs. And they do that because of the propagation of the species.
Gotcha. All right. So I got a lot of comments and I'm going to catch up. I'm just going to read them unless something really stands out. And let's see here. Tiffany says, yes, burned out on their preferences. And Tiffany also says exactly Africa First. So Barack doesn't count. And Africa First says there's no anthem. And Yanni, how you doing? You say, I live in Louisiana, 46 years old. And I find that several of our black men are angry and feel like you owe them respect, but unwilling to go educate themselves and grow. And Tanny says 5.5 hours. And Africa First says, I love black women and I'm glad that you do. And our brother Donnell says the name of the colonizer children game is to keep them niggas ignorant, whitewash, and divide, so they're not going to give us images of family without their doctrine, pale person, and toxic beings in the mix via their media. It's clear agenda to keep black men and women in comparison, like Willie Lynch letter teaches. Instead, a focus on our common denominators that produces love and empowerment. Did they put Cosby Show back on? I think it is in some markets. I'm not
sure. It's on TV One.
And Errol says, I saw a painful remark attributed to Putin. He allegedly said African men are the weakest men in the world. Google Putin's remark on African males. It was difficult to disagree based on his arguments. Yes, I am familiar with that. I don't think he was saying it like, oh, they're no good type of things. But I mean, you kind of think about it in terms of Africa. What other race of man, and I'm not putting black men down, but I'm trying to speak to his context, would allow other countries to come over there and put a flag in their ground. Like I said, in South Africa, they got a whole Chinese woman sitting on the parliament. You ain't got no black people sitting on the government in China. So, I mean, you got to kind of look at the whole comment. Africa First says Pookie just means thug while I'm going to school and boring. Got you. Sophia says, Donovan, stop it. Even white women are defending black women at this point because the things that black men say about black women are so insidious. Both black men and women need to check themselves.
I agree.
Tiffany says, I wouldn't know, but I think they're into confidence of the Pookies and Ray Rays and Feeding Frenzy 91. How you doing? He says, hello and God bless all. Same to you. And H. McDaniel said, Demetri and Donovan, I'm going to wish you guys a great week. This conversation is for the young ones, not one of my age range. I'm not interested in a boy or bad or otherwise. Well, if you're still here, I wish you would stay because we can use your wisdom. And Sunlight says, young is the key word. What is hard to understand about that? Young equals immature. Maturity usually comes with age and experience, yet you shame women for that too. And Errol, you say, the Putin remark said African men invest and purchase globally. educate their kids in European nations, then die and get buried in Africa. He called it a cemetery for Africans. Whoa. Feeding Frenzy 91 says finishing last if you get the right one is the best. Yep, that is absolutely true, because that means that you took a little bit of time, right? And hello, Thunder, welcome. And Kiki says, okay, but if black men degrading black women now is a payback due to the last 40 years, then what are black men going to give the white folks for saying they aren't ish for the last nearly 500? Because I don't see no smoke coming for brothers from them if it's about hurting their feelings. Matter of fact, I actually see brothers pedestal, I guess put them on a pedestal, non-black women over black women as if they never said anything about black men in general. I'm just saying, you know what?
Yes, I agree.
I want to spin around in this chair and hallelujah, but my microphone will get all tied up. Right?
No. I mean, she made some valid points. She makes some damn valid points. But like I said, what level of the funny thing is what I found, Dimitri, is it's like a certain level of our community is what we're talking about. And remember, we always talk about why is it that we always cater to the lowest denominator of our community?
I would say very good point, Kiki. Very, very good point.
Very good point.
And Cooler says mature singles are making marriage impossible for younger generations. Older players are dating the youth with the war chest, making of resources, making grinding in relationships, building impossible. So you're saying they're wooing them with money, huh? Feeding Frenzy says they annoy each other sometimes. And Sunlight says, so everyone heard the theory behind the smart couple, right? All righty then. She's talking about your explanation.
Oh, no, but like I said, there wasn't an explanation. It was my opinion. There's a difference. I'm not an expert. Like I said, when it comes to relationships, I'm the last person to give advice about how relationships work because I've been divorced twice. So I concede that.
Gotcha. And so Africa First says, I tried being a bad boy back in the day. It's just too hard. I'm good in these burbs. Call the police. I'm tired. Well, damn. And Pioneer says, or psychiatrist, some problems, therapy alone won't cure. So you're very right. And Gavetta says, in my opinion, a Pookie and Ray Ray is someone who has no ambition to do anything in life. They're happy to settle with the lower aspect of life, someone that will stay a cook at Mickey D's. You know what? I'm glad you said that because that can be a good definition of a Ray Ray or a Pookie. And Jay Joy says, the one thing about smart people is that the women filing for divorce among smart people, women that are smart can at times be the strong, independent, I don't need a man, masculine woman, or smart, feminine, rare, could be. And Feeding Frenzy says, agreed. And Amanda says, I met a guy and we vibe so well at Waffle House. We exchanged numbers and texted a few days. And then he asked, when can he hold me in his arms? I just blocked him.
You damn right you just blocked him. You damn right.
And if I could ask why you did that, and the Pioneer says, a woman can be smart and attractive as long as she's still feminine. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I agree with that.
Yes. Be feminine. Look feminine.
And I want to kind of address that comment too about the feminine thing in just a minute. Kubler says to increase Black marriage population, older single Black people should be banned from outside their age demographic. 10 years is the cutoff. And Africa First says, I'm good, no crime, straight living. I'm broke, and that's that. You ain't broke. And Yanni, he says, as a Black woman, I had to learn to be submissive. I was taught to be able to do for myself. And you know what? I love your honesty because that is true for a lot of us and the Black community. Something we have to learn. I personally didn't have to learn that because I, watched that in my parents' relationship. But a lot of women do need to learn that. So I appreciate your honesty. And Arrow says, is this more true or false? And so he puts a YouTube link up. I can't see right now. Africa First, he says, I cook for myself, wash my own clothes. No big deal. And Arrow says, Donovan, respond to the link I just posted. I was in pain listening to it. So I don't know if Donovan can see it. And Brother Jonell says, can we actually see as well as a discussion as discussed how much the Willie Lynch letter is in full practice in plain sight among us Black people by us? Oh, yes, it's most definitely in plain sight. And so it was actually said that it was a Black professor who wrote it. So his intentions were great, right? To raise awareness to how conditioned we are as a people, still, even like we think as though we were still in slavery. And Africa First, you said, not me. And you also say, bachelor for life. Come on now, you got somebody out there for you. And Sunlight says, you misread my comment. I said, why aren't we advocating? Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So why aren't we advocating for shotgun weddings? Why? I mean, we should to some degree. Now, this is the other thing. I don't know how effective and how long those relationships last for shotgun weddings, but I get your point. I'm more of an advocate for teaching our children not to have a shotgun wedding, but I do get your point. I mean, I guess as a man, if somebody knocked my daughter up and they weren't trying to take responsibilities, I definitely would knock on his door and want to have a conversation with him and his parents about making my daughter an honest woman. Yeah, it ain't what you wanted, but it's what you got, you know. And Tiffany says only healthy, loving, and whole marriages, because simply being married is not enough. Yeah, there's got to be a little bit more to it. Pioneer says the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says 75% of his work was with the Black woman. Why do you think that is? Well, if you go on the premise that the Black woman is the first teacher, you know, she is basically the circle of influence, especially in the home. I will say that's probably why. And Sunlight says bachelor life good. Bachelor for life good. I'm sorry. And Feeding Friend says that cat's like, it's time for my close up. Thunder says house caught on fire. The man wasn't home, but the wife was, and she let it burn out of control and down. And then she says, you were not here. Whose fault is it? I say both her for letting it and him for choosing her. Oh, wow. Okay. And Tiffany, I say talking to Jay Joe, and Freddie Fencer says, hey, I know a guy who married a woman who already had 8 kids. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I totally agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of men out there who marry women who have kids. And so I just think that's a narrative that we keep pushing. Oh, man, don't want a woman would have kids already. I mean, I know plenty of men who have married women with kids, including my stepfather, you know, who did a very good job. So, I mean, I can just really
no. See, you guys are twisting that. Men do marry women with kids. But here's the deal. Explain this to me. If you have children, let's say you have 3 children by 2 different baby daddies, which is your business, whatever. Why isn't the money for those children being used in the household to as a whole? In a lot of these relationships, you're finding that child support that was supposed to be doing to help take care of those kids isn't being used to help the stepfather and the family as a whole, because maybe one of the fathers doesn't pay child support and all this other stuff. These are just facts.
So I hear a lot of conflating and red herrings going on here. First, it's the child support. Now the woman may be using the child support.
No, that ain't what I said. What I'm saying is, where is that money that helps? I mean, why should a dude in the modern age, even forget the modern age, if a man's going to take care of the whole thing, take care of the whole thing. But where are the fathers? How does that alleviate the other fathers from doing their part?
I mean, I'm just speaking for my situation. I had a stepfather, and my father did his part.
Right, but we're talking about these women who get with the whatever, the Ray or the Pookie, whatever you guys call them, or the guys locked up. That's what we're talking about.
I'm gonna let y'all get that one. Okay, and so Black Man says, Brother Don is absolutely, I think he meant right. We must get our marriage numbers up. Agreed. And Africa First says 33-year-old with no kids. It's a choice. Okay, so you're saying you're choosing that lifestyle. Okay. Gavetta says, Donovan, you are right. In my opinion, every other culture advocates marriage. The Black community advocates woman being independent. In order for us to win, both men and women need to work together. Yeah, and I would say a portion of the Black community advocates that, because I mean,
right, exactly.
Yeah. And Jonelle says Black women as well as Black men need to check themselves. Our empowerment is in our own self-improvement. As Michael Jackson sing, I'm dealing with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. In my Ice Cube vocal, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah, yes. Yeah. And the Pioneer says, Donovan, when that cat got on your shoulder and lifted up his tail, I thought he was gonna take a whiz in your ear.
Yeah, she's my longest serving cat. It's 14 years.
And Tiffany says, well, I'm a woman with no kids. We're not interested in baby daddies either. Pioneer says, Queen, I'm over 50, born and raised in the Black city and lived around this nation. I think I'm well qualified to preach on what I see, what most Black American women are doing and not doing. Laugh out loud. Okay, well, I can't argue that with you and your circumstances. And Kubler says, if you wait until your 40s to finally entertain the idea of marriage, you should only be limited to your weather-beaten,
gout-filled, bloated age counterparts. Leave the youthful alone. Hey.
Hey, Jonelle, you say we're all farming daily, sowing and reaping. This issue is majority just sowing in ignorance, unaware, just sowing in the negative. And Arson, how you doing? Says, hello, guys, late again, but I hope you had a nice week. Oh, and Donovan, tell your cat I said hi.
Yeah, they're laying behind the green screen.
Yes, indeed. And just, before we get out of here, we got another half an hour. So we do have a Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. If you guys would love to donate to the channel. We also have a way you can become a member and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Every little bit that you do help. And if you haven't liked the video, go ahead and do that. I greatly appreciate it. And somebody says, being that people don't have sex to further the species, but just for self-gratification, can we stop talking about the animal kingdom?
Well, no, I'm gonna have to disagree, because if that's the case, then people wouldn't be getting married at all.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think the core reason of marriage is to be fruitful and multiply and all of that. I think sex as the main portion of it kind of got misconstrued somewhere. And let's see here. And Harley says it's still some use in the Bay.
No, some of us left in the Bay Area. She's talking about when I asked if there was any Black people still left up in the Bay Area.
Okay, got it. Some of us. Oh, I'm right. So it says it uses me, us. Some of us left in the Bay. However, ever since Silicon Valley, Facebook, Google, YouTube, etc., landed on East Palo Alto, Menlo Park, it pushed 80% of out of our homes.
Gentrified.
Yep. Only those people can afford to live there from the tech industry. They've pushed out and pretty much gotten rid of the art industry, if you will, there. And Brother Samuel says, in the nation, we are taught men are the main maintainers of women, and women are natural consolers of the man. However, that consolation spirit in women has been damaged and must be born again in her by her intelligence, return to God, not emotionally. Absolutely. Kiki says, so I take it y'all haven't heard of this new movement going on with a lot of sisters refusing to have any more Black babies. They're saying they're tired of brothers complaining about Black women pertaining to kids. So they're just saying that they're just not going to have them at all or have any more of them. Shaking my head. Yeah, that's really going on. It's getting crazy out here.
Oh, yeah. What is that? Are you talking about the divestment movement, Kiki, or just this? Is this another movement that they've started?
Yeah, that's we need to stop the madness. And the Pioneer says, okay, he says, outside of Sister Shahrazad Ali, I don't see any Black American women out here checking other Black women about their behavior and attitude and telling them to reform themselves. Okay. And Letitia, how you doing? He says, shalom, family, Sister Demetra. And Kiki says, yes, Cosby Show is back on. It comes on TV One. That's what I thought. And Pioneer says, from Mr. Farrakhan to Dr. Umar Johnson, you have a ton of Black leaders who scold and check Black women for their bad and disgraceful behavior. Where is a female counterpart for their balanced criticism? Well, Dr. Ava Muhammad from The Nation also. See, that's what I'm saying. Y'all need to. I can't tell y'all what y'all should do, but you're asking me. Dr. Ava Muhammad is one of them. Monique does it often. Monique does it. I mean, so we can really go on and on. For y'all to say that there's just one Black woman doing it, it's not true. I'm just saying. All right. And Tiffany says, woo, standing applause. And Brother Sam says, the mission of a man comes from God. Don't compete with it. However, console him in the mission. Now, brothers, don't be too busy to talk to a woman who, in performing her duties, look for changes in her as a gauge or barometer of your maintenance of her. Yes, indeed. The Pioneer says, first of all, anytime someone criticizes you, the mature thing to do is stop and think about what they said and ask yourself whether or not it's true, not get emotional or look for defense. I agree with you. Just weigh it and see if it's true. You also say, I'm not trying to be offensive or bash the sisters. This is real talk. Our sisters are hurting and their problems are only going to get worse if they don't start accepting reality so they can change it. And Tiffany says, the Pioneer, so tell us what's reality. Pioneers also say reality is what actually is. Use your five senses to determine how things in your environment really are, as opposed to how you want them to be or think they should be. And Kiki says, I feel you on that, Donovan. Shoot, I haven't been married and I'm still trying to figure out this relationship stuff too. It's all too confusing. I'm about ready to just pick out my rocking chair down and the name of my future cats at this point and call it a day. Don't give up, sister. Don't give up. Pioneer says, for example, I tell my female relatives not to dress up their little daughters in sexy clothes because it's dangerous and will attract perverts. They often get angry at this advice. Yeah, I mean, you're giving them good advice, but perhaps the women in their lives, I don't know who they may or may not be, need to instruct them better as to how to appropriately dress young girls. And Thunder says, no, 10-year cutoff. That means if we're to start dating, that means I have to start dating younger women. Hell no. Well, I guess I'm breaking the rules there, yeah, because we know Thunder likes his Gertrude and all these other women out there that's over the hill with the slips and the Virginia Slims while he's cooking his grits and stuff.
And the ones that have the built-in wallet in the bra, the grandma bras.
Right.
Yeah.
Donovan says, Earl, whose narrating this? I would agree, as they let anybody take over the soil.
Yeah, we're talking about the Africa thing.
Okay, got it. And the Pioneer says, the argument of my female relative is a man ain't supposed to look at their little daughter that way because that's sick. As if a pervert won't do it because they aren't supposed to. So you guys are both right. A man should not be looking at a girl that way, but I mean, have some wisdom. Don't dress your daughter in the way that would cause a man who may not be strong as to not do that. Don't use your daughters as bait. They don't need to have tight clothes on, midriffs and little bitty shorts. They don't need to have any of that on. Dress them appropriately, period. And Africa First says, what a great channel. Family actually reads our comments, means a lot. Oh yeah, Sundays is y'all day. This is y'all day. We read all the comments because we feel like you should be heard as well, because your opinions count. It's not just us, right? And Tana says Kiki Wyatt is very successful with family. Yeah, she's married with like 11, 12 kids now or something like that?
Yeah, she's like another child. She's pregnant again right now, so.
Yes, indeed. And Tiffany says how things are, the pickings of men with good mental health, financial stability, and a family-based mindset is very slim in our community, forcing women to advocate for single but happy lives.
Wait. Let me go back to Tana Young's thing about Kiki Wyatt. Now, you're saying she's successful. Now, this is her third or fourth relationship or marriage.
But she's still married, though.
No, yeah, but it's a third or fourth. But what I'm saying is, though, how are we defining success? That's my question for Tana.
Well, I think that also kind of debunks your point in regards to men not really wanting to take on the responsibility of another man's kids, and she's got a lot of them.
No. You can see, again, I didn't say men don't do it. Men are more than welcome to do it. If you ask the typical man,
you said they don't want to.
Yeah, the most typical men don't want to. If you ask the typical man saying, if you had a choice between a woman with kids and a woman with no kids, what would you pick? Most men will pick a woman with no kids. That's all I'm saying.
And so Tiffany said that pickings of men with good mental health, financial stability, and family mindset is very slim in our community, forcing women to advocate for single but happy lives. Well, I am one of those people who talk to the younger women, and I know that a lot of times you got these dating apps and stuff like that. And sometimes some of the younger women that I'm involved with, they can be a little bit too picky on stuff that's kind of like, well, should that really matter in the larger scheme of things? And so I'm just questioning whether some of these expectations that some women have of men, are they unrealistic? Because as Shahrazad Ali once said as well, we as Black women, we cannot weigh our men the way by the standards of white men, because they do not have the same set of circumstances. So y'all tell me what you think about that. And Joe, you say, I Google it. Most shotgun weddings last for a very long time, and most don't end in divorce. Can Democrat fact check me on that with a Google search for a second opinion? Oh, so you're talking about Donovan. Okay. Yeah, so that's good information. I didn't know if it lasted long or not. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Feeding Princess says, I advocate waiting till marriage, but definitely don't sleep with no one who you wouldn't see as a potential good father, mother. Absolutely.
I have an answer for that real quick. Let me read it to you. After a decade, 30% of white couples who had a shotgun marriage were divorced, compared to 19% of white couples who married prior to a child's conception. And that's pretty much all it says about shotgun marriage. It doesn't include Black people.
Okay, and but you're absolutely right. Feeding frenzy, yeah. Don't sleep with anybody you potentially wouldn't want to have to share a child with for the next 18 or life, really, right? Somebody says, what does that have to do with the price of tea? And so let me get to these comments so I can catch up and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. And let's see here. Pioneer says it's almost common sense not to dress your children that way, but some silly mothers do it anyway, assuming that because they don't think perverted, then nobody thinks that. No, I mean, I agree with that. I never dressed my daughter in any provocative way at all. I mean, just it's silly to do that. And Gavetta says that, Demetri, you're right. Not all should have typed that in my statement. Okay. And then Tiffany says, so he's talking to J. Joe, and Africa First says, Demetri, with the child support comment, killed me. If I would make that mistake, I would pay mistake to a blessing. And Pioneer says some people aren't meant to be married at any age, right, or old or young. That's a fact. I don't want to be married, and I know a lot of men and quite a few women who don't either. Yeah. I mean, it's your choice, right? Nobody's saying you have to get married. Money says, I'm back. I've just been moving around, Demetria. I wasn't around to hear if you're going to add more days on YouTube. I think that'd be very good. I haven't decided yet. And the Pioneer says, I think most of us want people to be there for them if they get old and sick to help. That's when a good social structure and a healthcare system comes into play. Well, I think most people too want a companion. I just don't think a lot of people want to die alone per se, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to. It'd be nice to have somebody around, you know, and not even just when you're older, but somebody, you know, to hang out with and to discuss world affairs and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And obvious truth, how you doing? He says, don't shotgun weddings require fathers in the girls' lives?
No, sometimes the uncle needs to step up. Sometimes the uncle steps up. Sometimes the grandfather steps up. Sometimes the cousin steps up.
We just gonna rest with a moment of silence, just right there, just right there. Okay, we're gonna continue. I just want y'all to meditate on that.
But how does she get pregnant in the first place? Nobody talks about that point. Keep those legs.
Okay, so it's like a male part and a female part. They gotta get together. And Tiffany says, I'm not over 40 yet, but I agree, Gilvetta. And Brother Donnell says, marriage is a fad for majority in this motion and relate on animal level. If it wasn't for the case, we would see more elevation, more supreme beings as a greater world. Yeah, it is kind of like a fad. Like why are you really getting married? You doing it for the gram? You know, you doing it so you can spend a lot of money. I mean, like, what are you really getting? They say most people invest spend more money on the wedding than they do the marriage. Like they care more about the frill and the fluff of walking down the aisle than they do actually investing in making a good union.
And the reason why a lot of marriages in that scenario fail is because of finances. You spend so much money on the wedding and paying that off, it's the financing. So,
yep. And Jafia says that self-genocide is stupid as well. And Kid Gravity Beyond, how you doing? You say evening all. And Africa First says, Black women, only for me, it is what it is. Listen, I am not mad at you. And Moni says Pioneer. So you're talking to Pioneer. And Kiki says, I don't know. Not for sure if it's a divesting thing. I just know it's talk out there. There's some crazy stuff going on out here in social media and YouTube streets. I swear if it wasn't for both of them, I wouldn't know this stuff exists. I don't know people like that in real life. So, and I'm with you. A lot of this stuff is new to me, like the divesting thing and all of that. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? The divesting from Black men. And then y'all know I cover stories on the African Diaspora News Channel. If you ain't already, go over there and subscribe and like. I cover stories a lot about women for whatever reason. You know, maybe they were divestors, maybe they weren't. And then they ended up turning up daisies with Brad. So I don't know. And Amani says, Demetri, I like to sing. I like to think, I think he meant he feels good when you have your own place and you can be independent, but there's nothing wrong with having a beautiful mate to be right beside you not a lame controller. Okay. And Beverly White, how you doing? He says, pray for a good, I said good man. Is that what you meant? I'm with it. And Moni says, I think it's personally a shame to see anybody having a child. Let's face it, that's illegitimate. Why would you want to do that to yourself? That's kind of stupid. Don't you think it's a disgrace? Well, I mean, it happens, right? And, a lot of times people forget that the purpose of sex is to procreate, and then they have a slip up, then it's like, yeah, now what?
Well, for women, they don't think about that at all, because guess what? We have a social safety net and a government that says, well, Black women, if you get rid of the Black man or whatever your situation, or you get pregnant, we'll give you food stamps, we'll give you housing, we'll give you all this other stuff. So there's really no consequences for them to stay with the man or not to stay with the man. I mean, and I'm talking about to the younger girls. They actually believe this stuff. Like, well, if I get caught up, I can still live in poverty or whatever I need to do. I just got to keep my income at a certain level, and I could have this house for $25 or whatever. So when there's no consequences, there's no problem.
I mean, but should there really be consequences? And I guess we should define consequences for people having babies. Now, I guess what you're saying about the whole reward system, if you will. But I just think we probably should define that a little bit more. And Tanner says those men are taking care of her kids. Talk about Kiki Wyatt. And Moni says, I'll say talking to Pioneer, and Tanner says Kiki makes you a lie. So saying Kiki Wyatt's situation doesn't jive with what you were saying.
Well, no, it doesn't make me a lie. Like I said, I have an opinion. And in my opinion, any man, this woman's been married 3 times, and any man that isn't taking care of his kids, and he's got to come out of your pocket, that takes away from my children, that's ludicrous. That is suicide. Why would my children have to suffer because another man's not taking care of his kids? So those men are known as simps.
Well, why can I ask this, and you can think about this? Why aren't you with that dear child's mom in the first place? So
no, I agree with that. Yep,
yeah.
That's the whole thing. You get with the guy that has your children. You started a family, stick with it.
Got you. And Thunder says, has anyone kept up with the events overseas? A strong family structure will be needed to get through what's coming. I talked about that earlier, that people out there talking about I'm cool being single, like I said, unless you're making a lot of money. The war over there in Russia and Ukraine is obviously going to come back to bite us. It already is. Go look at your local gas prices and food prices and a whole host of things out there. And this is really going to battle test a lot of people. And then you're going to sit up in your bed one day as you're thinking about, damn, rent is due tomorrow, but I just ain't got it because I spent most of it on gas, get to work. You're going to think, well, you know what? I probably should have tried to make a better go at forming a union with somebody who is, good for that.
Yeah, here in LA, they just extended the rent moratorium another 15 months.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do that all over because people are
but what about the landlords? See what I'm saying? They're getting stiff.
I get it. It's a lot. And there's a lot going on. And I'm not saying that the landlords are the boogeyman. I think everybody should get their money. But as the old people say, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. And you got Biden and them telling y'all to brace yourselves in America because things are going to get worse. It's like, dude, how much worse can it get? Don't try to blame this on Putin. It was already getting bad. And now Biden didn't want to use Putin as a reason why we, things are going to get tough. Nah, buddy, you still got to go in 2024. Okay, but back to this. And Yanni says, Farrakhan, the Swan Song, he holds our people responsible as a whole. A must watch. This is my first time with y'all. I love you both and we'll continue to support. And we love you being here. You absolutely right. If you have not checked out the Swan Song, you absolutely should. Farrakhan has been taking both Black men and women to task for a very long time. So you're absolutely right. Pioneer says, exactly, Queen. Like our sister Ali said, we can't judge Afro-American men and what makes us successful with the same standard used for white men. White men don't have people actively trying to, and I think he meant God go after them and harm them. No, and that's absolutely right. So I think we need to kind of reassess what we're actually looking for. I'm not saying we as women, and I'm speaking from a woman's point of view, should settle for, dude who just ain't nothing. And I'm not saying the same, I'm saying the same thing for men as well. Y'all shouldn't settle, but I think we kind of really need to really assess where we are so we can get somewhere better. And Moni says, well, Donovan, this is what I have to say. You got some women that believe in abortions. And if you know that you do not have a degree, you don't have multiple skills, why would you ever have a child? It's dumb. Good point.
Because a lot of them know the social safety net is going to bail them out. I mean, hey, there's no consequences. And again, we got to get the definition of consequences. But as a man, I can't have the same preference. The government's not going to give me a house.
Well, she's actually talking about men, saying, why would you as a man, if you don't have good skills or, degree or whatever to get you a good job, why would you do that?
Exactly. No, exactly.
In that situation.
Right. Exactly. But again, double standards. And I'm cool with the double standard.
Okay. Tiffany says, I don't think that wanting a mentally healthy and financially stable man is being too picky. I think women in their 20s may still live by the Cinderella story, but most older women are realistic. So no, I agree to that. And I wasn't saying that we should say, well, he could be a little crazy. No, I wasn't saying that.
It's possible.
Nah, I mean, I don't play with crazy. I'm not saying that I agree with you. I agree with all of those things, financially stable. But how about and I know you're not saying this, but a lot of women think, well, he got to be making 6 figures. Well, can we at least say, as long as he's able to take care of himself and we get together and I take care of myself and then we can build something greater? That's what I'm saying. So I know you weren't saying that, and I wasn't meaning to say that we shouldn't expect at least those things. And Pioneer says, white men don't have people actively trying to kill and imprison them and keep them in poverty. Yes. Gloria, how you doing? If I didn't already say hello, say U.S. Black abortions 2008, 360,000, which is quite a bit. It's quite a few, right? And we don't know who we've been taking out of here, And let's see here. Tiffany says sunlight, yes, and very sad. And Don says Donovan is 100% correct. I tried sisters with one child. I had to make sure I did it twice. Demetria, not the lack employment opportunities keep Black men from marriage. Number one cause is divorce. So you're saying divorce is what keeps y'all from marriage? And is that because you feel like you lose so much within a marriage? Is that why? And Kiki says, I agree with that. We can't measure brothers on the same grading scale as white men because that social structure is different. But in that same breath, we can't be measured on the same scale as white women as well. They don't have our same struggles either. But as single women, I hear a lot of we're not like non-Black women. So that has to apply both sides, not just one. I totally agree with you on that. We all have our own set of circumstances. Sunlight says, discuss world affairs. That's a smart couple thing. I'm just saying. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Y'all know me. I like to talk. And I want to be able to talk about what's going on in the world. And
no, Demetria likes to be messy. She's giving me all kinds of advice last night about my situation and stuff.
That's what I do. I'm in public relations. I'm supposed to give you good advice. But I'm saying, when you get with somebody, you want to be able to talk about grand things or, what's your opinion on what's going on in the Ukraine and Putin and, Zelensky and Africa. You want to be able to talk to people about that instead of saying, well, what do you think about them housewives? I don't know. I don't watch Housewives.
Yeah, remember my friend that was visiting and, and I tell her she wasn't intellectually curious about anything internationally. So I said, you got to go.
Read a book every once in a while. That's attractive to me. A man who reads. And the Pioneer says, perhaps I'm saying this because I'm over 40, but now last time you was over 40, now you going back there. I'll talk about you over. You said you was over 50 last time. Now you're over 40. But okay, let me keep reading. It says, I don't think being over 40 or even over 60 has anything to do with relationships outside of maybe sexual satisfaction.
Correct.
And okay. I was going to say, what about mentally? And Brother Sammy says, I have a question for you both. I have a daughter who has 2 children by the same young man who takes care of his children, not kids. I get what you're saying because kids are billy goats. Says, I feel she wants me to put pressure him to marry her. I'm hesitant because if it goes wrong, they could come back and say, I only did it because you required it. So I haven't pushed it. Thoughts?
I'm going to say this. She chose him, and I'm sure you met with the young man or whatever the deal is, but all you could do is advise if they come to you. I wouldn't go to them and bring it up unless it's brought to you. That's what I would say.
And Brother Samuel, I would say, I think it's a great idea for you to go and put a little pressure on him. And I think that's really what's missing, right? Is that, and I'm not saying this about you, but I'm just saying in general, back in the day, a lot of men I would think would be afraid to knock a man's daughter up and not really feel like he needs to make her, as they would say, an honest woman. And so I personally wouldn't have a problem with you going to him and saying, hey, son, I need to have a conversation with you. I love you as a son. I'm glad that, you know, you and my daughter are together and you have two beautiful kids, but I would also like for you to make my daughter an honest woman before in the eyes of God and also legally. You know, if something would happen to you or her, you neither one of you would really have any legal standing, and you know, just from that point of view. But of course, I know you wouldn't go to him in an accusatory tone, but just lay it all out mathematically as you would beautifully do, and just get him to think about some things. You know, I would love for you to make my daughter an honest woman for
Yeah,
reasons.
and I'm very sure he does that subliminally all the time. You know how parents always say, when y'all getting married? You know, like
Yeah, but you
yeah.
nowadays you can't be subliminal. You got to put
Yeah.
it all out there, you know.
Yeah.
And if it don't work, at least they did it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
There's a lot of things that won't work. I mean, hell, I might cross the street and get hit by a bus. I'm not speaking that into the universe. It may not be successful crossing the street, but what do I do? Do I not go across the street? Do I not try? So that's the point that I'm making. At least, yeah, I would go to him in a very loving way as a father to son, because in essence, he is, you know, your son. I would go to him in that manner. That's just my opinion. And Pioneer says some people just aren't designed to be in relationships, period. No need to force them into one or to try to hook them up or give them advice. They should just be satisfied being alone. Well, some people are. I agree. Some people just don't want to be in that. And Gilberto says that, Demetra, I don't know where this divesting mess comes from. I'm really sick of hearing that. Yeah, it's I don't know how prevalent it is. I have been hearing a lot about it. Hopefully, it's something that comes and goes very quickly. And for those of you guys who don't know, divesting is a community, from what I've seen, as is Black women saying they no longer want to be with Black men. They're wanting to be with other race of men or not being with Black men, you know, for whatever reason. Sherry says there's nothing wrong with having standards as far as relationship is concerned. It's all about what you want and who you want to have a relationship with. Yes, I agree. Moni says, I like educated, clean cut, handsome man that's very articulate, fun to be around. Nobody wants it like and loves spoiling and pampering a woman and can enjoy being pampered as well. You know what you want. Pioneer says many people like being alone and not in relationships. What they don't like is the stigma that comes with it, especially in the Black community. We like being up in each other's business. And let's see here. Thunder says, besides ladies, isn't it nice to know that there are nice young men willing to offer companionship when you're older and past marriage age? Now, some of these guys might have to share with other ladies. Well, I mean, you're rare, Thunder. You're very rare. And from what I understand, you always talking about having two older women. And Sunlight says those same government benefits being offered to poor females, every race, yet the outcome is still different. Good point. And Gilberto says, Donovan, the problem is welfare was not created for people to stay on for a lifetime. It was our help until you found something better. However, the wrong mindset happened, and now here we are. And Tana says, level up, simp. Uh-oh. And, Tiffany says, Kiki has money, which means she will keep a man because they're benefiting from her. Okay. And Moni says Laura loves Stefan. She dislikes Steve. Oh, so you're watching the replay. Because she found Steve Urkel to be annoying. I think it's time for Donovan to get an Oriental Siamese cat with big ears. Super cute. Donovan, get one soon. The Pioneer says, first of all, let's not call something that never was together in the first place a breakup. Most Black American children today came from parents who weren't married and not living together. That's a good point. I would agree with that. And Adon says America loses $50 billion a year due to lack of employment opportunities given to qualified Black men, and $10 trillion in real estate opportunities for Blacks over a 10-year period. That is a lot of money.
Yeah, did you guys hear Biden just authorized 300 and something? How much billion? $31 billion to Ukraine, or is it 300 and something billion?
I think it was 300 million more.
Okay, I heard it was in the billions, but okay.
I mean, he's already offered billions, but I'm saying I think it was millions this time.
Okay, millions. So 300 something million more. I mean, they're just pouring out money for everybody else, but can't do anything so that we can help ourselves. It's just so sad.
I mean, I just think as long as there's homeless people here in America in general, they should not be giving money to anybody else. Sherry says a wedding is a dress rehearsal for the marriage. A marriage is a dress rehearsal for the relationship. I love that. And Jonelle says most old and young desire the feeling of sex without the results, just like how we used to breed in slavery. We don't have intercourse for a purpose, but for a feeling. Ooh, and most of us are winging the results, straight fumble and fumble mode. You are absolutely right. Never really counting the cost. Like, well, what would happen? Like, if we do have a baby, what will happen? Like you said, it's just for the feeling of it, right? For the all 2 minutes of it. And Tiffany says, so you're talking to Thunder. And let's see, Habesha King, how you doing? It says Team Cynthia G. She exposed you, King worshippers. You are this time Dustian. Oh, so you're saying we are Dustianas. I guess that's a derogatory word. I mean, I don't know. For me personally, I'm gonna be nice because Donovan, y'all know that I've grown a long way, so I don't let people really get my goat much. But I just think this whole team black woman or anti-black man and anti-black woman, I think is silly and ridiculous because it's all fun and games to not have a man until you want somebody to take the trash out at night or
or open that peanut butter jar
or some other things that our men are good for. But I mean, if you do not desire a black man, I mean, that's on you. But there's a lot of black women who do, and I don't think that makes black women who desire black men dusties. I mean, I always say this: my father's a black man. I love my father dearly, more than life itself, and so one, I'm going to honor that and choosing a black man. And I would never disrespect a black man, even though I've been in relationships that didn't always work. But I don't know a whole lot about Cynthia G. I know she is part of the whole divesting movement. I just think it's ignorant because at the end of the day, white men don't really want y'all like that anyway. But anyway, and he also says, stop pandering to kings without kingdoms. And where is your king? Where is your queendom? Where is your queendom? Because in order for you to get a king, don't you got to be a queen? I'm just asking. Because it's like y'all, you talking about women being Dustianas, but I mean, you a gesture coming on here. So a queen would never even stoop to the levels that you were stooping on, coming on to another black woman's platform who has done or never disparaged a black man or a black woman. You in no way, shape, or form could ever be a queen. I just really couldn't even see it. So I'm gonna stop addressing you at this point. But anyway, Morning says nothing wrong if you got a real bad boy that just really is a slinger and he hated to talk to her. Some of these people are perpetrators, and that's the type that disgusts me because you're fake. Okay, got it. And so Jonelle says, watch the Swan Song by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan via NOI.org. Get your copy via storefindacall.com. All praises due to Allah. Absolutely. Tiffany says, just a little cray. And Marty says, Donovan, I've seen men come out at 30, 40, 38, 40, 40, 45, have a stroke of luck and be making six figures legitimate way because you don't know what kind of family they could have had prior to helping them out. And Tiffany says, absolutely, Demetra. And Sunlight says, Demetra, can you get this batch out of here? I see what you're saying. I'm not going to address her anymore. I mean, she needs to rearrange her understanding of life. And let's see here. And the Pioneer says, the fact that a sister has got older, most of them stop finding thugs so attractive is one of the reasons Sister Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said that Black people should wait until their 30s to have children. Yeah, I mean, I think there should be a maturity process going on to some degree. You get to know yourself as well. And Mona says, Donovan, also don't forget that there are women that don't mind if a man does not have a lot, as long as he can talk good, he's clean, handsome, they'll go for it. If the sex is good, a lot of women take care of him. And Gilberto says, to be honest, there are men and women who are dealing with the mental and physical issues and really need to seek professional help, as our community don't believe in and don't need to be dating. Yes, we all need to talk to and see somebody, right? And Sherry says, I would not be a landlord, not in this day and age. Yeah, it'd be kind of difficult. And Cooler says, Donovan, respectfully asking, at your age, are you open to being remarried, or will you just travel to Thailand and the Philippines until you return to glory?
Hey, if the right one comes along, I'm open to getting married. I don't want to go down this hill by myself. I'm open to getting married. So hopefully I can find somebody here. But if not, I mean, unfortunately, I'm dealing with a lot of women that are delusional here. I mean, they really are. So, I prefer somebody here though.
And Pioneer says, I agree. You can't measure black women with the same standards you measure white women. I absolutely agree with that. And Brother Jodell says, teach Queen, we both should be on some self-improvement when we meet each other and build on self-improvement together with God. Yes, indeed. Sunlight says, Donovan, if you don't stop it, I'm coming through the screen. You know damn well, just stop it. And Don says, the number one cause of divorce is financial. If qualified black men are kept from employment opportunities, they don't get those high fives and six figures. And your woman looking at you with the side eye because, yeah, I mean, I just think that we should be realistic in that, right? I mean, yeah, a lot of women are looking for a six-figure man, and that's great. But I mean, how many are there out there? I mean, you might be single for a very long time, and in the meantime, get your own six figures. I mean, I'm just saying. And Moni says, any woman that has a daughter that has children, you should encourage them always to be married because that's what God says, and God blesses the sanctity. I think you meant of marriage. Let's be clear, nobody can blame you. The Pioneer says, I can talk to white men at work about Russia, Ukraine all day. Try to talk to the average nigga about it, and they start yawning and swiping their cell phones while you're talking to them. Yeah, we need to change that mind frame. We need to be well versed on what's going on in the world. And Africa First says, who cried when King Leopold killed 10 million plus Africans in Congo? Who cried in Europe when we in South Africa were enslaved by John Rose? Who? Now I have to cry over Ukraine. Okay, you better preach, brother.
Yeah, and I heard it was 30 million, and not to include the people that were maimed in the Congo when that was going on. You know, they cut their hands off if they tried to escape, and all kinds of stuff that they did, those Africans.
The Belgians, yes. And Thunder said, that's right. I like having conversation with older women. I learn from them and they learn from me. It's a mutual beneficial. It helps when a person is worldly and well-traveled. Absolutely. I totally agree. Like, get out of your neighborhood sometimes, right? And Marty says, Donovan, you got to go by what the Bible says. The Bible says it's better to marry than to burn. Why would you not want to encourage a woman having illegitimate children not to be married? Disgrace.
Yeah, no, I encourage everybody to get married because it's so easy to get out of it. So why not get married? You got a house, you're living together, you have kids. Why not get married? Why is it okay in your mind to bastardize your children and deny them their estate? Right now, Jerry Jones, the cowboy owner, a woman has come out that her mother was paid by Jerry Jones to be quiet. The reason why this woman has come out is because if that man passes away, she has rights to his estate. Legal.
Sounds like Jerry Jones should have strapped up. And Brother Sam says, mathematically speaking, smart and smart are equally yoked. Reasoning, rational and rational is always rational. It's irrational and irrational is always irrational. Also, thank you both for your logical advice. You are welcome, brother. And Pioneer says, I meant to say conversations, not relationships, in response to what Thunder said, but I like relationships with older women too. Most aren't into playing games anymore. Okay. And Monty says, Demetra got to tell me if you're going to have extra days. I don't know yet. I haven't really thought about it just yet because Donovan and I are both super busy right now. And Sunlight says, a peanut butter jar, laugh out loud, they're made out of plastic for the last 30 years.
And you might not believe this, and there are still women that can't open that plastic peanut butter jar.
But I think when we're just kind of making, I don't know, just a kind of a weak example of there are things you do need men for. In regards to old girl who, I don't know. And the Pioneer says there are two periods of Black women bashing. The first came out of the 80s and the 90s in the form of gangster rap. The second period is today in social media in the Black manosphere, two different reasons. Got you. And Jonelle says too many women nowadays living toy stories. So it's hard to relate properly to a Black man better than a toy. Oof. Pioneer said, Demetra, you didn't finish my thoughts at the end of the data. Number one, the number one cause of divorce is financial. That was the purpose for citing the data. I never been married, and now you and everyone know why. Okay, got you.
Absolutely. And then if you're at the bottom of the economic scale, as Black people are, how often are our relationships gonna last? You have this expectation, this unrealistic expectation of a Black man making six figures. It does happen. But let's face it, what's the statistic? 70% of Black men make $40,000.
Absolutely. So I'm going to read through these comments. And Monty says, I love Demetra, how you and Donovan have made me a better thinker in terms of politically. I'm not voting for none of these crooks. This man has been giving everybody else money but the Black community. And I am so glad that you are becoming a better thinker, as we all are. And that's really what this is about. Let's just think about things, right? So I love and appreciate that. And Africa First says Brad sleeps with these divestors just to dominate and relive the plantation days. Enjoy blast serial killer vibes gonna get you. I'm just saying. And Moni says, I can, Donovan. I'm so disappointed that these men would offer this kind of money and yet do nothing for black people. It's like, seriously, you got to get a life, but he's out of office for sure. And Pioneer says the first period of black women bashing from gangster rap is an inexcusable period. The second period of bashing from black manosphere, though wrong, came as a result of backlash and perceived insults. Okay. Sunlight says a divester is not a gender specific. I wish people would stop that. And the female ones sure do get a lot of attention from black men. So thank you for that clarification, because I've only seen it really, I mean, I know that there's black men who talk about it, but I'm talking about as far as a community, I've only really seen that kind of tag to black women, if that makes any sense. And Moni says, so I say that all people he's poured out money to for he needs to go get their community, ask them to vote for him back. You should never look to another black people, go to their community. I agree with you 100%. And let me see here. I'm just going to kind of get to these other comments so we can get out of here. Kiki says, I told y'all there's a lot of monetization of black dysfunction and division. People who don't look like us making major bank off of the Cynthia G's, Kevin Samuels, Thomas Sotomayor, et cetera, et cetera. This stuff is intentional, and black community and relationships are being destroyed in the midst of it. And as long as there's revenue involved, they don't care. We have to remember some of the greatest black people weren't taken down by white faces. They use black faces to do it. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. As far as what's going on social media, see a lot of these black people who are teaching division, they're becoming wealthy before doing it, right? So they like talk about Candace Owens, but it's like, are you really any different? You know, Pioneer says, unlike white men who pretty much don't have an excuse for their sexism and are guilty as charged, but black women, black men are victims of the society too, and don't share that guilt complex. Sunlight says, I'm just picking Donovan. Laugh out loud. And Gabetta says, you know what, back in my mid-20s, I was told by a young man that he would not date me because single people without kids don't need help. He dates the woman with kids because they always need help. And Moni says, I think because of the benefit of dealing with both parties, even though they never lived in the same house very long, that I love me, that I'm not taking any BS off no man. And Yanni says, third one for me was older church women judging. I'm just saying. And Pioneer says, a lot of Afro-American women pushing feminism, though they thought they would get the same reaction from black men that white women got from white men, which was a bunch of phony apologies. And Moni says, I don't like, Demetra, how these men that's with Hebrew Israelites like the dog and jump on their women and say that is God's purpose when it's not some men who are domineering of their women. Oh, wow. I didn't know that's what they did. So it's news to me. And Kubler says, my question to Demetra and Donovan, how do we eliminate these sense of despair and desperation out of black community?
Reparations.
Well, it's reparations, but before we get to that point, we have to change our mindsets. It's definitely a mind reset is what needs to go on. And Pioneer says, like Neely Fuller Jr. said, white folks don't mind apologizing as long as they don't have to do a damn thing for substance. They got a whole warehouse full of apologies for you if you want them. Yep, as long as they don't have to. As
long as it doesn't cost them anything.
Yeah, the Clintons and all of them got up there and apologized for slavery, but it's like, yeah, we want the money too. Okay, forget your apology. And Arson says, so help me get out, guys. What's the atmosphere like in the USA as far as voting goes? Does it sound like you may vote differently or not at all next time? Both.
A lot of people are just done with it. Even the people that had supported Biden in the White House, that's why you don't hear them talking anymore. They're just like, the people in the Congress are just like, wait a minute, we can't get a voting rights bill. We can't do this. You don't go in front of the nation and talk about funding the police when that was one of the items that you said that you were going to do. The police, the Presidential Policing Commission, all of that. Joe Biden is done with that. He said, you know what? I'm moving to the center. I'm a racist. This is how it is.
Moni, you're asking about all woman's, I guess, chat like Fly Nubian Queen and African Dysphoria. That would have been channel. That would be great. Any chance of that happening? I have to write all that stuff down. I haven't forgot the moderators too. Apologies. I don't want to keep making excuses, but I've just been very busy. Yes, I slept in today. I was like, I'm not getting out of bed before 9. And It's actually really like 8 because the time changed. So anyway, Africa First says, love master at your own risk. We're going to see you on the news missing. Oh my God. Donna says, I'm grateful for those older women. They are the first that taught me how to do home canning and make preserves. Who would have known that it would come in so handy with these food prices and World War III coming? You ain't lying. So
Yes.
Glodine and them, they knew what they was doing, right? Hey, Channy, how you doing? Gavetta says, I was just getting ready to type that, Dimitri. The Black community must change their mindsets. We are below in everything. Absolutely. And Kiki says, I don't see money fixing Black relationships. It's been my observation that when a brother or sister gets money, that's when they really don't think they need each other. I agree with Dimitri. A new mindset is definitely needed.
Yeah, absolutely. A mindset is definitely needed, but we need our money too, because when we get our money, and again, what's the number one cause of divorce? Finances.
And I tend to think, the finances is a symptom of the lack of communication, I think. And Martin says it goes something like this: if a person cannot respect and adore Black woman, Black man, why come to the show? Let's support one another. Let's stop tearing us down and get enough already. Well, some people just really can't help themselves. And Sherry says the United States is always putting on a cape to help other countries, but these countries won't send us one penny in aid. How backwards? Exactly.
And people are still going to vote for this party.
Yep. And yep. And Gavetta says, or Kamala Harris going to a Black function and telling their folks how the Ukraine people working together or whatever she stated. Yeah, she basically went to the John Lewis thing, Bloody Sunday, and talked about the Ukrainian people. It's like, are you serious, lady?
And did you see Obama saying that you should take your tax dollars and donate to the Ukrainian cause?
Yeah, and we ignored him too. We're gonna ignore him too. So anyway, as you guys can see, we are at the end of the comments. Y'all didn't think I could do it, but I did it. I always will do it. I will, for the most part, try to read all of y'all comments because you guys are special to us, and we believe that you should be heard. And Africa First is 13 billion to Ukraine. Why? So that's total what they've given so far. Absolutely. And so we love and appreciate y'all. We are gonna get out of here, so you can hear my voice is like voices are getting to get squeezed up. And Thunder says, thank you, Agnes, and thank you, Gertrude. Just Thunder's women. Yes. So we're going to get out of here. If you guys, again, we have a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. If you guys want to donate, become a member of the channel, at least like the video and all of that. Thank you for being here and participating in this conversation. We will be back here next Sunday for the same thing. And look out for the podcast on Tuesday and Sunday as Donovan and I chop it up. Sometimes it gets very heated, but it's all good. And Anastasia, how you doing? He says, y'all two are amazing. And so are you. Yes, I did it, Africa First. And Don says, yeah, Donovan, where's my moderator thing? So yes, that send me the list, Donovan. It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm the one that's kind of lagging.
The list is in your messenger. I am.
Yes, indeed. So we love you guys as well. I want to thank y'all. We are going to get out of here. You guys, please be safe, do something good, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
And keep that chat and those ideas and those opinions coming. We love it. We don't take it personal. That's why we're here to have a conversation. You guys be safe, be blessed. We'll see you guys next Sunday.
Peace.